Hello everyone, welcome back to another Tomato Sauce stream. Today, it's a fun and exciting day because we're going to be updating the tier list. This is something that everyone always loves to talk about. Where is this going to be on the tier list? Where do we think this is going to be on the tier list? Well, today, we're finally going to dive into it. We're finally going to take a look at the tournament results, analyze all the data, come to some conclusions, and then throw them all into a list. That is the plan. Beyond that, we're going to be playing the new high-tech Dragon deck because it's been doing quite well. We've had at least, I think, 2 top 4 finishes with this deck, so it's actually been doing okay, which is funny because it has the exact same weaknesses as it did before. Now it has sort of an extra level of strength, though. Whereas before, you were kind of at the mercy of, is your opponent going to leave something face up, or do I find the card to flip a card face up? Does my opponent like have the trap card? Now we can go into a contact fusion, which is a little bit easy to make. And we can give it piercing, double attack, 4500, which is just an extra way to OTK. So, yeah, we have that. Thank you for the follow, Slushy Water. But that is the plan. We're going to be taking a look at tournament results, analysing the meta, throwing it onto a tier list, and then playing some Rush, as usual on the stream. But first things first, let's see who's in the chat. We have Ninjetti Ursus, tier list time. Welcome on in. We have PTRG with the meep and the second. We have Luis Fernando here all the time, as always, one of our most dedicated viewers. Aqua tier 0, let's go. I don't know about tier 0, but I think it's probably going to end up in tier 1. We have Giorfio in chat. Hello, Giorfio. Hello, Mr. Tomato Sesso. I'm here to make sure baseball is tier 1. I think that baseball is a deck that is slept on a little bit. The reason being that baseball has a lot of things going for it, especially in the current meta, right? So it's a bit of a weird one because with the rise of Jointech, we started to see Shady get played a little bit less. We started to see things like Riding come out, right? But with the introduction of these new decks, I feel like Shady is back to seeing more play because it's really good against things like Music Princess. It's really good. It's okay into Jointech. Like, it's not awful into Jointech. It's just there are better plays to make, right? Because you don't get as much value if you have to be forcing it on a Jointech Rex, right? So because of the fact that we've been seeing more Shady, that now means that decks that can ignore Shady suddenly look a lot more powerful. And the reason that the baseball deck gets to feel even strong, because the alternative would be Miss Mutton, right? Miss Mutton puts itself in a weird position where, because it effectively lacks a skill, you don't get that like free plus and that free consistency that the baseball deck gets. So I do think baseball is a little bit slept on. And I do think that there is some other stuff the deck could do as well. Like having primarily 2000 defenders does allow you to very easily play around things like Stegocelos. So there is some other stuff there as well. So yeah, I think personally it's actually pretty good. And you absolutely destroyed me yesterday in top 8 with it. So we also have Hikari. We'll do an exclamation mark Hikari in the chat with the hello. Hello, Hikari. We have Shui, so we're going to exclamation mark Shui as well. As we clear our throat. But Dark Galaxy tier 0. I don't know about that. We have Darth Victor in the chat. Hi, Tomato. I want to give one review for Digimon DLC. Don't get it. It's not worth it. I didn't think it was going to be honest. When games like this have these like tiny DLCs, and they're like, oh, I'll get these exclusive things from it. Usually it's like 20 minutes of content. Meh. Never really been a big fan. God, that is time I'll never get back. We have Kim Friend in the chat. Oh no, not this time. Rush players of all of them are arrogant, aggressive kids with low IQ. See, the problem with statements like that is, first off, like, it's very all-encompassing, right? So I understand you don't like Rush, and I respect that you don't like Rush. I think that's fine. You don't have to like Rush. You can even be perturbed that Rush is in the game. That's fine. But when you start, like, attacking the player base, it's just when you start sounding really immature. It's when you start sounding just really silly. Like, I genuinely think that you are... I think less of you after reading that message. I now think that you are more stupid than I thought you were this morning, right? So, you've got to be careful with how you, like, phrase stuff. Because, again, I think you're entitled to your own opinion. But a lot of the time, you just seem like an idiot. And I think you probably don't want to come across as an idiot, so you should probably, like, work on that. I have 2 streams up, and both went talking same second. I forgot to close one down. I mean, watch the other stream if you want, buddy. Like, in fact, if you could have both up, support 2 streamers at once, that's fantastic, right? We have Slushy Water. Hello, hello. What is this emote? Oh, we got the noted. I see. That's a good emote. I don't even know who this is. Ace P. I don't know who that is. Ace P. Kalswali. Don't know who that is, but it's a really good emote. I mean, Miss Mutton was never better than baseball. So, right. Statistically, it was performing better in tournaments. That is the data that we have. That doesn't mean it's better. It just means it was performing better in tournaments, right? I know that some people don't rate tournaments as highly. I know that some people are going to be like, oh, you know, it's a meme tournament. Because a lot of the time it was like Quantum doing really well with it, right? So take that with a pinch of salt, right? It's a bit over an hour, but the Digimon was awesome to play with. I mean, that's good then. At least you like that. And they lied. We don't get 5 Digimon. We got 6. I mean, that's good. That statement is speed player projection. I think, again, it comes down to... There are a lot of speed players that don't like Rush. There are a lot of Rush players that don't like speed. I think that's fine. There's nothing wrong with that at all. You can even be annoyed that Rush is in speed, that is in Duel Links, right? Rush being kind of put on the game, a lot of people see it as a hindrance. And I think that is a fine opinion to have. There is logic behind it. When you start attacking the community, though, that's when it just seems really silly, right? It just, your argument no longer holds any weight. Now you're just being a bellend for no reason, right? Could be, but playing KC with best deck means you get a lot of mirrors. Baseball is insanely underrated right now. Yeah, I am inclined to agree with Giorfio. I think the deck is a lot better than people give it credit for. I gotta go see Tomato. Thanks for stopping by, Victor. Hello, Pro Manicust. Welcome on in. Ace has great emotes. What is that? I need to zoom in on this. Explode, I see. Giorfio, any people are try to play with the old decks? In my opinion, I think Music and Jointech still better than Aqua. Yeah, I am inclined to agree to an extent. Music Princess definitely feels the most explosive. And I think if you just open like a custom hand, Music Princess will just beat anything. But I do think in a lot of ways, a lot of people that are kind of stuck in the old ways are underestimating Aqua. Because Aqua is actually a genuinely really strong deck. It's just, like all decks, the deck doesn't just like play itself. You still have to draw the right things, you have to do things in the right order, and then different decks will have the edge or not, right? Didn't you just say Aqua is the best deck though? I mean, I think Louise likes to be hyperbolic. Alright, but with that all said, I guess we will go ahead and jump in to take a look at the Yappy bit. We'll do the Yappy bit. We're going to continue the Yappy bit, I suppose. So first things first, we'll take a look at Bismuth's meta snapshot. So this is going to be a little bit out of date because we did just have 2 tournaments yesterday. But if we go to the Rush side, we can see Music Princess, Jointech, Aqua, Elemental Hero, Neos, Sevens, Red Boot, and Metarion are all doing quite well, right? Obviously, according to this, these 2 decks are like pretty much standout, but this was right before Aqua won their second tournament, so they've just like jumped up quite a lot as well. But we have like example deck lists, and we have the 5 tournaments that we used to record this. So if we jump over here, we can see that we have now 7 tournaments to go by. So we have a bit more data, and we'll go ahead and pull up our pie chart. Oh, trusty pie chart. So it's funny how things have shifted, right? Because Music Princess was the top deck on Sunday. It just was. Then we had the Now Cup, and again, this is all because the amount of data we have is still so low, right? With such a small sample size, it means that there will be massive alterations, right? As soon as like a little bit of new data comes in, things can massively swing. So we had Music Princess was the best. Then Aqua overtook it because it had more tournament wins, but the same number of points. And then Jointech overtook that. So these 3 decks over the last couple days have all traded places as being the best deck, which is very funny. Aqua is just a wall. Hello, Ballast Sparkle, by the way. Welcome, welcome. Hello, eHero XGP as well. With the Aqua is kind of crazy when everything goes right. That is the issue I have with it. Which is, it is crazy when everything goes right, but everything doesn't always go right. I think that is where it starts to fall short, because it has a similar issue to VFriend, right? I would describe Aqua as, what if VFriend was good, right? Because VFriend, theoretically, if you just custom draw every single card you want, right? If your mills are custom every time, that deck can just wipe your opponent's entire board almost effortlessly and then hit your opponent in the face for 7,500 damage, right? But the issue is, that's not how the world works. You don't draw a custom hand every game. You can't just guarantee you're going to have your boss monsters in your hand every single time. You can't just guarantee everything is always going to work exactly how you need it to. So it creates these, like, weird issues. So the primary, like, similarity, I suppose, is both decks play a substantial amount of high-level monsters. And both decks have a way to get a discount on summoning your high-level monsters. But neither of them work on turn one. So, with both decks, if you go first and you look at your opening hand and you see 3 or 4 high-level monsters, you go, well, I'm probably about to lose. There's nothing I can do. So, there's not really a good way to mitigate that, unfortunately. It's just like, sometimes you're going to draw, and you're going to look at your opening hand, and you're going to be like, oh, well, this sucks. Because again, both decks like to go second. They're both going second decks, effectively, because of that. Because if you just open, I don't know, like a couple of traps and some sets, that's fine. But the issue is the decks play very few low-level monsters, so it gets a bit awkward. I think Jointech is better than Aqua, but Aqua is better than Jointech against Aqua. Jointech is better than Aqua. Okay. I'm with you so far. But Aqua is better than Jointech against Aqua. So you think Jointech is better against the field, but Aqua is good against Jointech. I think that's what we're saying. And now we've just said Music Princess, which has now confused me even more. You plus so much? Oh yeah, you plus so much with that deck. It's actually insane. Aqua is better than Jointech against Music Princess. Ah, there we go. Okay. Aqua is better... yes. I think I agree with that statement. The issue with Jointech is that it loses to both best decks and also baseball. It's the best deck at sacking. Jointech is a weird one because occasionally Jointech will just OTK. And you're like, how did Jointech OTK? A lot of the time, the way that deck actually kills you in a single turn is off of cards like Curse. Like going second, Jointech opens Curse, gets the 3+2, flips something up, pops it out the way, summons out like a Shield Boring Kong, pops another thing out the way, wipes through your back row because you've got, you know, Jointech Rex, and then you just get to attack your opponent directly for like 6,000. And like that sucks, but it's something they could do. So it's kind of gross how Curse does so much heavy lifting for that deck. Like it's actually so gross. But when you don't sack, you have a negative matchup versus most good decks. Yeah. I don't know if I would say Jointech has like a negative matchup against a lot of them. Because Jointech does, at least right, in tournament matches, right? In tournament games, if you look across the data, Jointech doesn't like lose most of the time to Music Princess. It's kind of even. But I do understand what you mean, because in my experience, I tend to win more with Music Princess against Jointech, but like the data doesn't necessarily back that up, so it's like it's a weird one. Psychic Bros. I think Jointech is good versus Aqua, but is bad against Music. Kind of. Obviously, Jointech has the advantage against Aqua, in that Aqua is going to slam down 3 monsters with low defense. So you can just pop them all with Stegocelos. But then the question becomes, how many cards are you investing into doing that? Because you've now got to get your Stego out, which means you have to tribute a monster. Obviously, you got a +1 off the skill, but now you have to discard 3 cards from your hand. So that's 3 less cards. So now you're going to have your Stego, but you're going to need to also find another 3,500 damage, which sometimes is really easy, sometimes can be a little bit awkward. And that's not playing through their back row, so then it's like, it can be really easy, but also it can be kind of tricky. So, I don't know. I don't know where I fall on that. But it's bad against Music. So again, I agree with that statement. Whenever I play Music Princess, I tend to find that I just kind of farm Jointech. But, again, it doesn't necessarily, like, the data doesn't corroborate that, right? I mean, Aqua has low defense, but also good at surviving and spam bosses. It's not that easy for Jointech to close the game so quickly. Yeah, that's kind of how I feel. I think that just the ability to go up to, like, 7,000 or 8,000 life points can make it really difficult to get one-tapped. The issue is, after that, can you survive the second onslaught? Because it's all well and good to go up to, like, 8,000. Then you take a big slap of damage, you go down to, like, let's say, like, 2,000 or 3,000. Now you've got to do something to either kill your opponent in the next turn, or you've got to bolster your life points back up, sit behind some traps, and ready to weather the storm on the next turn. The boss is a free food for Stego, but in the second phase, there should be many more Music Princess, so Aqua should be better option than Jointech. It seems everyone agrees Music is the best deck. Again, I think you are... I'm not going to say you're wrong, right? I'm not saying Music Princess isn't the best deck. The thing I take ire with is that you're saying everyone agrees, which is a statement that is objectively false, right? And it just seems to want to add weight to your argument without actually saying anything, right? Because it's all well and good to be like, everyone agrees X. And then everyone's going to hear that and be like, oh, well, if everyone agrees, this must be true, right? But that's not that's not true, right? A lot of the Japanese community believe that Aqua is the best deck. A lot of the Western community think Jointech is the best deck, right? So just saying like everyone thinks Music Princess is the best deck is like not really a fair statement. I'm not even sure if the majority think Music Princess is the best deck. Definitely not everyone. Jointech propaganda. I mean, there we go. The best right now is not totally clear. Yeah, that's how I feel as well. I think the fact that we have like 3 different camps of people saying Jointech's the best deck, Aqua's the best deck, Music Princess is the best deck. And like, let's not forget, Jorfio's here. You know, Baseball is the best deck. It tells me that we're in quite an interesting meta. We're in quite a diverse meta. Obviously, this pie chart is a really good pie chart. This is what we like to see. Maybe Jointech's a little bit too big. But again, it wasn't that big before, right? It's only just swelled to this after it got another tournament win with a second place, top 4 finish as well. So, like, I think it's in a pretty good spot. I think meta's in a pretty good spot. Music is a better deck overall, but inside of GRF, Jointech is better as it's faster. Alright, I would make the argument Jointech is probably faster overall. But I would say the more important factor that Jointech has over the other decks is Jointech is basically brain dead. There's not a lot of decision making in Jointech, right? Like the decision making is usually comes down to like, am I discarding for Stegoselos or not? Right, that's kind of it. You have to decide what card you're getting back from the graveyard when you use the skill. There's not a ton of decision points in piloting the deck. It's very one-dimensional. Aqua is similar, but I would make the argument that Aqua does have more decisions to make, and you have to plan out the turn better, right? Because when you search for 2 cards from the deck, it's like, okay, how many Nuvia do I need? How many Nuvia activations can I get during the turn? How many draw outlets do I have? Am I shuffling cards back into my deck before I activate the skill so I can search them with the skill? How many cards am I shuffling back into my deck before I activate all of my draw outlets so I can try and draw into the cards I've shuffled into my deck? Or is there something still in my deck that I desperately need to draw, so I need to do this before I shuffle cards into my deck, right? There's a lot more decisions to be made playing Aqua than Jointech, although the actual like play-by-play is quite simple, because it's, again, summon Guy, tribute Guy, use Guy effect, attack, right? There's not a ton of thought in like the actual play-by-play of how the deck actually functions. But I think there are more micro decisions in Aqua than there are Jointech. But I do think by far of the 3 deck, Music Princess is by far the most complex. There are so many different lines in Music Princess that I think players that aren't used to it will get confused. And they will spend a long time trying to work out what the best line is. And they will quite often make mistakes. So I think out of the 3, Music Princess is definitely the most difficult. And I would say that Jointech is definitely the easiest. So from that perspective, if you don't want to like burn out, if you haven't already got a lot of experience playing Music Princess, or if you think over the course of like a 72-hour grind session, you're going to burn out playing Music Princess, maybe Jointech and Aqua are going to be more attractive, right? Sevens is also underrated in my opinion. It still makes top 2 occasionally. Yeah, Sevens is a good deck. I'm not going to pretend that Sevens isn't. I just feel like Sevens has a couple of questionable matchups. I think Sevens, the way that I kind of look at Sevens is it punishes people bricking. If someone bricks and they don't have a really good hand, Sevens will punish them more than most other decks. That's how I kind of look at it. And we should be having ads in a minute. We'll keep going until the ads hit, but when the ads hit, we will just pause. Stampede or Kong? I mean, yeah, Stampede or Kong. Red Boot can summon 5 God Dragon, therefore it's the best. I mean, a 5 God Dragon can be pretty hard to deal with. Just saying. So let's say we're back to the 3-deck format. I think saying we're in a 3-deck format is fairly accurate, right? I think most of the time we're going to be seeing Jointech, Aqua, Music Princess. That being said, the next tier down isn't that much further down. Like, I think Neos can still absolutely top 100. Sevens Road can absolutely top 100. E-Hero can absolutely top 100. Red Boot can absolutely top 100. Baseball can absolutely top 100. Then you start getting into, like, the... Is Gradius going to top 100? I mean, maybe. I think it could. It's going to struggle a bit more. Is Matarian going to hit top 100? Again, it could. It's not as likely, but it definitely could. A couple could squeak in. All right, here comes the ads. We'll take a sec to hydrate while we wait for the ads to go away. All right. Welcome back from the ads. You could say the same of Dragius being able to summon the perfect Dragius star. It's not quite the same, but I get what you're saying, King John. Also, hello, King John. Welcome, welcome. Please give up on Sevens and Hero because Jointech. I mean, Hero won a tournament, right? Let's not forget. Like, Jointech's right here, not in the finals. I mean, there's Sevens as well, just hanging out. But, like, it did manage to win. So say what we want about it. E-Hero definitely can still compete. Is it going to compete all the time? Is it going to consistently get these tops? Obviously not. But I think it could be like almost a rogue deck that just kind of show up sometimes. Is that Mila Nesso we see in the chat? Hello, hello, Mila. And for anyone that doesn't know, Mila is planning to do a stream today. God, when is it? Is it like 11 and a half hours, I think? No, 10 and a half hours? I think it's 10 and a half hours. Mila's going to do a stream over on YouTube. So everyone should make sure they go and check out Mila's stream. But welcome on in. Where is Lightwave Dragon? I mean, it's never coming. Never coming, not allowed. But Aqua against Sevens is basically a free win. I hear that said a lot. And it depends. Because again, Aqua is a deck that can be prone to bricking. And if you do brick, you're not going to win, right? So it's not... I think when people say something like that, you make it sound like you just can't lose. But the deck isn't consistent enough that is always true. So you want to take that with a pinch of salt. I've never played Rush, so this is really interesting to listen to. That makes me want to try it. So Rush is fun, right? It's a lot of fun. It is very casual friendly. In order to get relatively competitive decks, you don't typically have to spend that much in terms of like gems. I would say, if you're planning to give Rush a go, I would do it on a new account because you get given a ton of free stuff when you make a new account. You can have invite yourself to play, for example, if you have the ability to, and then get the free deck rewards, which is really, really nice. The one issue I have in recommending Rush to newer players is there is a lot of variance. Now, if you're a hyper-competitive grinder, that can be frustrating because it can feel like you did everything right. You're in the matchup that favors you, but everything just went wrong with the draws and you lost, right? That does happen sometimes. Outside of that, Rush is absolutely fantastic. So I would just say, if you're like super hyper competitive and you're going to get very frustrated or tilted because of bad luck, just know variance is a thing in Rush, more so than speed. You should. It's fun. Under my sleeves. Honestly, give it a try. It's super fun. How many lists do you think we'll see on Freeze? Ooh, that's a good one. So Freeze is an awkward one. Because Freeze is useless against Music Princess. Absolutely useless against Music Princess. It's also going to be mostly useless against Neos. I think you will almost never tribute summon out Neos. It's going to be useless against Seven's Road. It's useless against E-Hero. It is somewhat useless against Red Boot. It will almost never do anything against Red Boot. It will occasionally, because you won't necessarily use the Striping Wyvern to summon out the Blue Fang. But most of the time it's going to be useless. It's going to usually be useless into Baseball, right? So it's one of those issues where it's really good into exactly Jointech and Aqua, and really bad into literally everything else. So if the meta is the Jointech Aqua meta, fantastic. It's going to be great. If it's not the Jointech Aqua meta, it's going to be dog shit, right? That's basically how it's going to come down. Oh, right, let's try and catch up with chat a little bit. To be honest, I barely know Rush history. The farthest I remember back is the whole Sevens Geass debacle. God, Sevens Geass. Sevens Geass, man. Never. I don't want to go back. I don't want to go back. I finally finished my studies. Time to stream daily. Yes, Mila's back from studies. Daily Mila streams coming at you. The only problem, Mila, is you stream after I've already gone to bed. Now, I understand. That's like your preferred streaming time. That's when it makes sense for you. Obviously, we just live on different sides of the planet, and it is a shame, because I would love to catch your stream sometime. Obviously, I can't understand what you're saying in the streams, but I get the gist, right? So I do quite enjoy watching it. I do occasionally catch the VODs, and especially because we now have like the automatic subtitle feature, I can actually watch videos not in English and understand what they're saying, which is really, really helpful. I really, really do enjoy that. But I swear I remember vocalizing being a top deck. It was for a little bit. It was for a little bit. Hello, Tomato. How's it going? Hello, United for Eternity. Welcome, welcome on in. Tell me the ships did something, please. Gradius. I mean, Gradius is here, right? In the top 8s, it's been doing okay. It has not made a top 4 spot. The only Gradius that has made a top 4 finish has been the Yami Gradius, which is Voltalon's deck. So it's Gradius with a side of Floodgate. That one did okay. A lot. I love Rush. I think Gradius is close to being top once there's spice found with it. Yami was cool, but we might be something better. It's tricky. It's very tricky. So obviously Yami is pretty good right now because it's a meta call, because Jointech has to tribute summon. Aqua has to tribute summon. Music Princess does tribute summon. Doesn't strictly speaking have to, but if they're not tribute summoning, it can get a little bit awkward, right? So it's really, really good against a lot of the best decks right now. So Yami Ruler, if anything, is something I could see maybe seeing a lot of play in like top 100 if, again, Jointech Aqua Music Princess is the meta that we kind of are in and like nothing else comes close. But again, if it's a bit more diverse, right? If we have some Neos, if we have some Sevens, if we have some Baseball, all in the top 100 as well, these strategies, these like specific rogue decks do get a bit weaker, right? I love Rush. That's what we want. More Rush. I think we've already read that. Biggest issue is the Sevens spam and Rush in ranked. That is a problem that you always have, right? Even in speed, you still see a lot of the same decks being spammed in ladder again and again and again and again. So like, it's never going to change. That's the game, right? There's a deck that's easy to play. It's easy to get your hands on. So it's very like cheap. People are going to play it. That's just card games online. Unfortunately, there's nothing we can do about that. Eventually, something's going to come out that's easier to play, that's also given out for free, and people will move on to that instead, right? But until then, we just have this, right? You can use Ancient Gear Golem and the Light 7 Machine Monster. You can. The issue is that you get locked into only attacking with Light Attribute Machine Monsters with 800 defense, which can cause a lot of issues. So you can play other stuff with it, But occasionally you'll look at your hand and go, everything I can do here is suboptimal. Because either I summon out this boss and it can't attack because I've done all the other cool shit, or I get the boss out, don't use the cool shit, and now like my turn is like just summon out like Mirror Innovator Pass. And that's also really bad, right? It's very awkward. It's very awkward. Gradius needs a skill to be at the very top. A starter skill that slots extra deck monsters will never be enough. Yes, I agree. I personally would just like to see discard up to 2 level 4 light attribute monsters, machine monsters with 800 defense from your hand to the graveyard. Draw that many cards. That would, in my opinion, do so much for the deck, because now that lets you get your options into the graveyard, and it lets you dig through your deck to find more pieces. And again, if you don't have options, you could just discard non-options to dig for options, right? That's how I kind of look at it. Like, you don't need something like crazy. It doesn't need to plus them. But just something to help with consistency, I think, would help and go a long way. They aren't enough, in my opinion, but they're cool. Though losers to pierces do help, yeah. Those pierces do help. Yeah, plus HG Golem 3k defense is nice. They shuffle cards back with level 7. Yami Gradius. Yes, Yami Gradius is a Voltalon build. I mean, we can go and grab it quick. Let me pop over to Twitter. I'll grab his list. I'll throw it up so everyone can see, because he did post it. He got 2nd place. Okay, so got 2nd today at Now Cup, 23 players with Gradius feature Yami Ruler. Posting it now because I don't actually think it's particularly strong, but it's funny. So again, even the guy who made it doesn't think it's super great, but we should talk about it. So this is the list. There's not a lot to say about this. This is very bog standard Gradius with 3 Yami Rulers slapped in, right? Obviously, a lot of the Gradius decks... I mean, the biggest difference, I guess, is we're only playing the single copy of the vanilla, which means very rarely you're going to get 2+ off of the Capsule Red. So, yeah, this is the deck. I used Yami Gradius first in your tournament. Well, there you go. I mean, this was the first one that did well, right? Also, I haven't had a tournament, so it'd be weird if you used it in my tournament. To be honest, I've been trying to recruit people to try Rush out. I've had about 1 successful person so far over the 2 months. The problem mostly being that I like to use Omega to show them Rush, so they have freedom, but because it's an unofficial simulator, they don't trust it. Yes. We have the same problem with EDO. Now, personally, I think EDO is a better simulator. I think it's run by people who are better. I think it is... It's people that are in the Rush community already that do run it, and it does just work a little bit better, but it looks awful, right? In terms of aesthetic and appearance, Omega absolutely blows it out of the water. 100%. 100% destroys it in terms of like the way it looks. Volt was cooking. Also, for Yu-Gi-Oh! Fan series I'm working on, I really do not know how to implement Rush because it's sort of a Yu-Gi-Oh! Zexal sequel far in the future, to be honest. I was thinking of having it be Ostracide for reference, but how most players treat it, though, it seems racist, and I do not like that. I mean, so even Rush in the actual show itself, so I think it was the very finale of Sevens, they even have like a bit where the Gohar duelists show up and they're like, "Oh, you're playing Rush? Rush is for little kids. Get out of here." And it's like, come on guys. We get this shit already. We don't need the anime to also poke fun. But yeah, it is what it is, right? Oh, the Cyber. Hello, Nullproof. Welcome. Hello, Tomato. Why is that one Gradius card limited to? That's a good question. It's a really good card. I don't think it necessarily needs to be limit 2, but it's a really good card. What it might be is they've already decided on some cards they want to hit in the future. So, obviously we have the GRF, and then a couple days after the GRF we'll get the ban list announced. And it could just be there's something on that they're planning to put to limit 2 that's going to conflict with this, that they don't want it to be here, or they just want you playing one less copy, right? We don't really know. But the card is strong. It's just, again, without a real skill, this deck just isn't consistent enough realistically. So, it is what it is. The Point Battle Room a couple days ago. Ah, I see. Well, a Point Battle Room isn't a tournament. Just to get that out there. And it wasn't my point battle Ruby there. It would have been Nanao's. I like the Heaven version of Gradius. I think, again, it's cool, but it has the same problems of sometimes you just won't be able to attack. And I think that kind of sucks, right? I feel the only person who prefers the look of EDO over Omega. I think Omega just, like, you can customize the background a lot more to make it look a lot nicer. You have, like, the floating models like you would if you went for the jank view in Duel Links. So, like, I think there is a lot going for that. Little did they know that 2 kids and an alien who used rush duels to seriously save the world years before they were born. Exactly, exactly. Cursor Light? I don't know what that's what we're referring to there, but yeah, Cursor Light. But yeah, so this is how things are shaking up at the moment, right? We'll move this over here. I mean, we'll talk about this quickly. We're also getting an Overrush Rare Monster Reborn art, which means, again, this could come to Duel Links. It might be that the first Monster Reborn we get in Duel Links Rush is going to be the Overrush, which would be cool. I don't know if there's going to be a problem with the art, right? Because obviously we never got this art, at least not as the initial release, because of religious connotation. So I don't know if they're going to change this, or if they're just going to give it to us like this, or... And what about Aqua? Did she do anything? Aqua has done really, really well. So Aqua is obviously here. So Aqua has won 2 tournaments. It's gotten a bunch of tops as well. It's also done really, really well in point battles. And specifically, if we go and find Rafuta. Where are you, Rafuta? Where's the real Rafuta? Would the real Rafuta please... No, we've written Refuta, that's why. If we go and grab Rafuta's Twitter art. Well, that's not helpful. Right, we'll grab the whole thing. We'll bring it over. So this is Rafuta. Has he taken away the big pie chart, or is the pie chart only on the note? Let's go check out the note quick. I'm pretty sure it's on the note. Nope, that's not helpful. Where is it? I'm sure it was on here before. Is it now just gone? We've got Docs Google. Has he taken it down? Maybe he took it down. Because he did have it on here before, where you could... Here we go, this is it. Here we go. This is what we want to see. So this was the PGRF, which was like the big competitive, like... I think it was like 2-3 hour point battles. And this is representation, mind, right? This isn't win rates. But Aqua obviously did really well if this many people were playing it. Because again, this wasn't like, let's try out the new decks as much as it was, let's work out what the best deck is going into the GRF, right? To be honest, I really do want to see what the World Post 7s is like. I mean, we're kind of... We got to see that at the end of Go Rush, right? So we did get to see some of it. Some Duel Links already, if you use the extra card gem. Hello, Monosync as well. I like how TCG people call it new art for Reborn. I mean, kinda. Let's drop that in. With the same artwork. Wait, what? I actually like the censored version more. It feels chunkier. I like the simplicity. I'm a very, like, minimalist kind of person. So, like, I really like the just very simplistic art. Because I feel like after all of Space-Time with warping shenanigans, the same people who ostracized Rush would probably try it at least. I mean, probably. Monster Reborn already in Duel Links with the chips thing, so you already know what the art is. I mean, like, if you're telling me that Monster Reborn is in the game with the other art, then yeah, we know what it's going to be, right? I don't use the chips thing. I don't bother with that crap. I have no interest in that. A Shock Dragon could be okay in baseball. I think that's a little bit cope when the deck already just wipes the opponent's entire board and attacks them directly. Like, I don't think you need Shock Dragon in there at all. Bloody hell, it's time to test Aqua now. I mean, yeah, Aqua's been doing really, really well. don't know what else I can spell out here. I haven't. Good, because the original Monster Reborn seems much more comfortable. That's the thing. Rush doesn't have a chip variant. That's only speed. Yeah, but the whole issue with having this art is, if it's not already in Duel Links, will it come to Duel Links? If there's a speed version of this art, there is no reason for them to give us an alternate art, right? They could just give us this if it's already there, right? That's the point. Because, again, the only reason to give us the other art is because they don't want this in the game at all. And if it's already in the game, it doesn't matter. But I think it's time. I think it's time, guys. I think it's time to start the tier list. So, where do we start? Where do we start? Cyber Dragon, if we do start with Cyber Dragon, is in a very weird spot. Before the latest box came out, it was doing okay. It was actually doing okay. I don't think, though, we can put it anything higher than Rogue at the moment. I don't know, man. Cyber Dragon's a weird one. I want to root for Cyber Dragon. I want Cyber Dragon to be good. It's just in Struggle Street. Even when it did well, it didn't feel like it convincingly did well. So, like, I don't think I can put it higher than this. Because High Rogue is going to be, like, a deck that, like, can top. Rogue is going to be, like, a deck that can get wins here and there, but isn't realistically going to be, like, destroying anyone or doing much of anything. So, I don't know. I think this just stays here for now. Music Princess. I think this is quite an easy slam dunk. I would be surprised if anyone disagreed with this take. Music Princess is so good, right? I mean, if we go back and take a look. Music Princess, right now, down here in third place, 18.9%, currently tied with Aqua. Jointech is the only deck that's outperforming both of them. We got 2 tournament wins. It's got a second place. It's got plenty of top 4 finishes. It's been doing really well. If we can take a look over here, we can see again, Music Princess is just doing so well. I don't think it can be any lower, right? This deck it's complex to play and to get all the lines correct. With the addition of action, now being able to reduce your opponent's attack and defense by 2,000, it's solidified it as being just an OTK machine, right? You have a monster that has a built-in Harpy's Feather Duster that also boosts its own attack. You have a monster that can boost its attack up to 6,000 with piercing. You have a level 6 monster that gives you a plus, because you give up a monster to summon it, then you get 2 cards back to your hand, so you've got -1 total, and then you can then use that monster as part of a fusion. This deck has 3 Miracle Fusions to go into all of these ridiculous cards we've just spoken about. If we can get Straight Pierce into the graveyard, we can also use that once or twice in a turn to get an extra 4,000 damage on top of the -2,000 we've given our opponent, which is just 6,000 damage immediately, right? That's just absolutely nuts. It's crazy. It's crazy. Only controversial thing I can say is that, in my opinion, Music Princess without Cirque isn't tier 1. I personally think circulation is really helpful for the deck. I think even if they made a specific rule that said Music Princess is not allowed to use circulation, I don't think Music Princess would drop that much. I think it would be a tiny nerf, and I don't even think it would drop out of tier 1, personally. I think it would maybe go straight to the bottom of tier 1. I think that would maybe be a fair assessment, but I do not think it would fall out of tier 1 at all. Complex plays in Rush. I mean, Rush does have a spectrum, right? The issue is the spectrum for Rush is a lot narrower than it is for Speed. If we say Speed is like bam, right? Rush is like bam. The worst Rush player will not be as bad as the worst Speed player. And the best Rush player will not be as good as the best Speed player. Because it is a lot easier to make mistakes and mess up the turn in Speed than it is in Rush. And at the same time, it is a lot more difficult to make a perfect Speed turn than it is to make a perfect Rush turn, right? That is the way I'll always look at it, right? There is complexity in the game. If we're comparing it 1-to-1 specifically to Speed, yes, Speed is more complex. But that doesn't mean there is less, or that there is no complexity. It just means there is less complexity, right? Yeah, Psychic can be a bit complex, and chairs, but we don't have the chairs and Duel Links. I think for me, the most big brain deck in Rush, in terms of like OCG Rush, probably Celeb Rose. Celeb Rose is like the most fluid deck of all time. There are so many different lines, and each line will get you somewhere different. So you have to make sure that you do everything in very specific orders. You have to keep track of what cards you're going to have in, like, you know, 10 card activations later. It's like, all right, I'm going to do this into this, that, fuse into that, use that effect, get that effect, get back the equip spell, activate that, do this, activate this, put cards back into my deck and draw, activate this, discard that, draw this, and then it's like, okay, what am I going to have at that point? Where's the combo going there, right? But again, still, compare that to like a modern TCG deck. No modern TCG deck is going to have it beat, right? Realistically. Joke because most speed players think they aren't any complex plays. The problem that we're always going to have is because we have the Yu-Gi-Oh name slapped on us as Yu-Gi-Oh! Rush Duel, people are always going to compare Rush to Speed, or they're going to compare it to TCG, right? Those games, like TCG, is the most complex card game there is, right? We shouldn't be comparing like the pinnacle of complexity to a game that is more likely going to be competing against things like Pokemon, things like Magic the Gathering, things like the One Piece trading card game, things like Cardfight Vanguard, right? All of those games have their own level of complexities, but none of them are going to sit there for 20 minutes spinning plates like Yu-Gi-Oh does, right? It's just, they're different games. They're fundamentally, right? The best LATAM Rush player is much better than the best Speed LATAM player. I mean, that could be true. I'm not going to say one thing or another about that. I'm just going to say Giorfio would know. Fair enough. Celeb Rose, I think, yeah. Yeah, Celeb Rose for me, for sure. Because Celeb Rose isn't necessarily like a super duper strong deck, but you have the most different like lines to take, right? You have so many different options. Rich women pog. Rush is a lot more about resource management. Speed is very consistent, so you just memorize what to do in 99% of important situations. Yeah, well, so Speed was about resource management for a long time, but it's when you get to like, I don't know, was it links? Was it pendulums? There was a certain point where resource management started to matter a lot less in Speed. Now, I think it still does matter, for sure. Absolutely does. But there was a time where, you know, your plays was like, summon out some guys, play some back row attack, pass back, your opponent does the same back to you, and you go back and forth a bunch. Now we're at like, we're mini Master Duel now, right? Where we're doing our big turn one plays. And it's like, now, instead of saying like, oh, you know, what are you going to do turn one? Okay, yeah, I'm going to like summon a guy, set some back row and pass. Now it's like, what is your end board going to be? And it's like, okay, my end board is going to be 2 Omnis, I'm going to have a bounce, I'm going to have a droplet, and I'm going to have like an eclipse, right? And so like, they're just different games, right? Like fundamentally. You need to learn the Celeb Rose morning routine perfectly, exactly. Speed is like, copy deck, memorize end board, memorize what other consistent end boards do. Well, I think when it comes to learning a speed deck, you start by like, find list, learn combos, and then after that, after you've done those first two things, that's when you're like, all right, what do I do when I'm interrupted here? What do I do when I'm interrupted there? And then it becomes, okay, now I'm against this deck. When do I have to interrupt them? When are they most vulnerable to my interaction, right? And then once you've got all of that down, now you've actually learned how to play a speed deck, right? I think it's a fair point. I think it's fair to put Music Princess, Arcquet, and Jointech at tier 1 for now. Is Celeb Rose still the only actual complete controllable loop in Rush? So we did have Potter Loop, but that got hit, so we can't do that anymore. I'm trying to think. I'm pretty sure there are a couple of other loops, but a lot of the time, like, because even the Celeb Rose loop, the Celeb Rose loop effectively gets you 3 equip spells. That's all it does. Like doing that big loop doesn't like win you the game on the spot. It doesn't like do anything insanely crazy. What it does is get you 3 equip spells that increase your attack by 1,000 each. So like, it's good. I'm not gonna like undersell it, but it's not like loop into killing your opponent, right? So like, a lot of the loops aren't very useful, which is why we don't see them as much. Probably Draco Pendulums, and possibly. It's when Degenerate combo started. I mean, basically, yeah. That change would have been around Link period with Goku's being introduced. Yeah, I think that probably makes sense. I think, again, for me, it was when we started... It was like, every deck is going to try and OTK, and every deck is going to try and have an end board that stops your opponent from OTKing you. I think that, when we got to that stage, that's when the game became like Mini Master Duel, right? I think so, but I don't know if Quintiamat Loop is still possible. This is meant to be Rush Duel tier list. Stop yapping about speed. We can yap about speed all we want, okay? We've got another 2 hours to go, right? This tier list is not going to take 2 hours. And even if we don't end up actually playing high tech, it's fine. Because the next video that's coming out, spoiler alert, it's going to be about a tier list and not about high tech. That'll be like the Friday video. So it doesn't even matter. You can't play until you clean the trash in your room. Exactly. That's how it goes. Hello, Jetstrong Mech Knight. Mech Knight? We think Mech Knight was like the turning point? I don't know about that. But yeah, this deck, absolutely insane pop-off. But I would also argue it is one of the more complex decks of the meta. That is one other thing I do want to do after this. Once we've gone through this, I do want to talk a little bit about GRF and decks that I think people should play in GRF. And I think part of that is going to be making a like complexity tier list and talking about which decks we think are like the easiest to like the most challenging, right? Because again, for a lot of the people in this chat, you guys play Rush all the time, right? Or you have like a keen interest in Rush, some of you. But for the most part, most people here, you're all entering tournaments. You're all playing Rush constantly. We aren't the norm, right? The average player that's going to be playing in the GRF is probably like a tourist, or they're just getting into it, or, you know, they don't play in tournaments, they only play in in-game events. And for those people, knowing which decks are more challenging and which ones aren't could be really, really valuable. Next up, I guess we'll talk about this. This is going to be representing the... God, what is it? It's the deck from last time, right? What was it called? What did we call it? Warrior Pile. This is the Warrior Pile deck. Do we have a good example of Warrior Pile lying around? We probably do. If we go over here. Top decks Rush. I don't know if it's going to be in the last 4 weeks is the issue. Warrior Toolbox. Hey, it's me. We'll use my list. So this is the deck we're representing with the Yami Luna. So this deck, I think, has potential, right? And the only reason this deck has any kind of potential is because of this bad boy right here. This bad boy right here can shut down 2 of the strongest decks in the game. If not for him, this deck would be garbage, like actual garbage. Yami Ruler, again, you can slot it into just about anything, right? Like we just saw the Voltalon Yami Ruler deck, right? But I personally, and feel free to disagree, I think this is the best shell for Yami Ruler. I think being able to elemental circulation to turbo into it is really, really valuable. You have the ability to OTK between Straight Pierce, Yami Luna, and Yami Ruler, and you still have the floodgate potential of Yami Ruler. I think this is the best way to play this deck. But, again, that could be up for debate. Haven't seen Luna for a while now. Floodgate Man. Exactly, Floodgate Man! It's really funny as well, because Yami Ruler is a floodgate, right? He is kinda degen, but he's only degen against very specific things, right? Because again, if we go back to the old chart, if we go back over to here, like he stops Jointech, he stops Aqua, he kinda stops Music Princess, Neostone doesn't care, Seven's Road doesn't care, Elemental Hero doesn't care, Red Boot most of the time doesn't care, but sometimes will. Baseball kinda cares, because it's going to stop you from doing your Grand Slam Dragon play. Yami Gradius is basically a mirror, and Matarian doesn't care. So there's so many decks on this wheel that just do not give a shit, but there are a lot of decks that do get hard countered by it, right? I hope I face El Chico Cosmo and beat him over and over again in the GRF. Well, now that you've said it, what's probably going to happen is you're going to play against El Chico Cosmo a bunch, and he's going to beat you over and over and over again. Because that's just how, you know, Solomon's Law works. How often does Yami get hit by Curse? So, you can play the deck in a way where you don't invest too many resources, and then you could just keep cards in your hand, right? That can happen. But occasionally, yes, Yami will get hit with Curse. Now, one thing we should mention is, though, Jointech is going to be playing Curse. There is no reason for Jointech not to play Curse. Aqua, we've seen a lot of decks doing well not playing Curse. So, like, the list that people settle on during the GRF might not be on Curse. And Music Princess also stopped playing Curse, right? So it's going to have a rougher time against Jointech, most likely. But Aqua and Music Princess might still struggle. So for me, this is going in High Rogue. So a Rogue deck, like by definition, is a deck that like sometimes tops. It's a deck that has okay matchups against some of the field. But this is one of the stronger versions. I think this deck can still beat decks that it shouldn't. For example, this deck should hard lose to Metarian. But we saw in tournament match again and again and again, this deck consistently beating Metarian. So I don't think we can just like say it's like, oh, it's a one trick, it'll only work against certain decks. No, it can win against other decks. It's just how often is it going to win against those decks? Ooh, it could be a bit tricky, right? But I do think this should be in High Rogue. Next up is Gradius. Gradius. Where do we put you? This is Gradius Pure as well, right? So we're not going to talk about like the hybrids at the moment. Pure Gradius. I mean, going by the data, it's not a top 4. It's a top 8er. We've got this lovely little section here. Like, it's been doing okay. Like, where is he? Is Gradius? Gradius is down here. It's had 6 top 8s. 6 top 8 finishes. 0 top 4s. It's definitely in a bit of a weird spot. Tier 3, Gradius is 4. Gradius is the definition of High Rogue. Gradius is High Rogue. I'm a little bit torn, to be honest. Because I think Gradius could be a High Rogue deck, but what matchups does Gradius, like, favor? What matchups does Gradius have, like, really strong matchups into? Because I don't know if it has many. Right? It's an awkward one. Because I don't think the deck is, like, bad. But it falls back into being inconsistent. The deck doesn't have the tools necessary, and by that what we really mean is it doesn't have a skill necessary, to be able to play the game every turn. And if you just draw badly, the deck can feel really underwhelming. But if you just draw everything you need, the deck feels fantastic. Because, like, this deck can always break boards, right? You just go into, like, Double Ripple. Double Ripple reduce your opponent's board by, you know, 800 times 4. Split across all their monsters. You can go into a 3200 Piercer that can't be popped. That can sort of protect your other guys. But, like, it protects you from a Hammer Shot and it protects you from Widespread, which, like, no one's on. So, honestly, I'm thinking of playing Gradius without traps and going full aggressive Curse Cyclone, etc. I think that's probably going to be the way to go. The issue is, there will be some games where you do just die, right? Like, if you do that, how do you beat, like High-Tech Dragon, right? High-Tech Dragon's just going to eat you alive. The deck isn't bad, but the deck with no skill and Duel Links is suicide. But that's the thing, right? The deck is supposed to be, we don't have a skill, because these are modern cards that have the modern sensibilities of having a ton of consistency built into the cards. The problem is, that's not as good as having a yellow button that is always live, that you just click and sorts everything out for you, right? What is the deck in High Rogue? So that is this one, Giorfio. This is the Warrior Pile deck, which is basically Yami Ruler. It's basically Yami Ruler, the deck. This deck did quite well, right? This deck did reasonably well. And it's really, really good, specifically into Aqua and Jointech. It's okay into Music Princess. And it did beat a handful of other decks, such as Metarian. So, like, I think it definitely deserves to be on the list. But I think High Rogue is where it deserves to be. I don't think this is a tier 3. So I'm going to put this in high rogue for now. I think. But I'm not sure it should be in high rogue. I'm really not sure. High-Tech Dragon isn't real trust. It keeps knocking me... To be fair, I did just beat a High-Tech Dragon in the tournament we played yesterday, Monos. So I did get my revenge after being knocked out of 2 tournaments by High-Tech Dragon. So... yeah, I faced it once in the PGRF. Yeah, the deck is like... it's decent. It's decent. It's just... It's not going to be great into absolutely everything. That's why it's a rogue, right? Gradius needs Sidra package desperately just so that it has OTK potential. The sooner those cards come to Duel Links, the better. Yes, as soon as we get access to the Cyberload Fusion, suddenly that deck becomes a lot better. It can't be in yellow without a yellow button. Well, it kind of is there. For now. Alright, next up. Dark Galaxy. So... Dark Galaxy is a weird one. So... it did actually... did we not have it here? Is Dark Galaxy not on my list? Oh, it's because it's Dark Galaxy Fusion. One moment. We'll just fix that real quick. And then we'll just do that. And there he is, right at the bottom. Right at the bottom. Right where he belongs. So, I think this just goes in Rogue, right? The deck, like, it showed up. It did stuff. And this is actually the Fusion version. What is the Sidra package? So, let me see if I can grab it quickly for you. It shouldn't take too long to find it. But bear with me one moment. Am I in the right place? No, I'm not. I'm not in the right place. That's why I can't see it. Okay. Not there. Not there. Is it going to be in here? Here we go. So this is from Rush Ragnarok, which is like a fantastic place for like modern OCG Rush. So this is what it's lacking, right? So, this isn't actually all of it, unfortunately. So there's this spell card, which basically lets you pop a card on the field, which is really good, and lets you refill your deck as well. But there's also a version of the deck that's playing the Miracle Fusion for Cyber Dragon that basically lets you get out like a Chimera attack, for example, and just have like other avenues to play through. Don't let Hikari see this part. Cyber Rush Fusion. Cyber Rush Fusion, that's the one. Processor and Zwei mainly in the OCG. Can that summon the Gradius stuff? So you can still summon the Gradius stuff. The issue is you can only attack with... if you use specific effects in Gradius, you can only attack with level 8 or level 4 monsters with 800 defense that are like machines, right? So you kind of just have to tailor the turns to be like, are you doing one or are you doing... oh, look, it's Voltalon. Volt made this. Didn't even notice that. What's the website? So this isn't a website. This is a Discord channel. But, you know, that's that. So for me, Rogue. We'll put it above Cyber Dragon, though. I do think Dark Galaxy Fusion is still, like, okay. It's still, like, strong enough. You can use the Gradius cards as materials for the Chimeric Fusions. There are no Cyber Dragons here. I mean, this is a Cyber Serpent. This is a Cyber Dragon spell card. Again, the actual list isn't here. This is their example deck list, but they haven't got one with the Cyberload Fusion or Cyber Rush Fusion. I can maybe find one quick. Let's see if anyone's posted one. Not seeing one that's easy to get. But either way, you get the gist. Yeah, it's a pure list. I don't think they have a hybrid on the server as a showcase, yeah. Well, I don't even see one in the deck help section, so... but it's alright. It doesn't matter. We know what we're talking about. Do we care enough about VFriend to even have it on the list? Part of me thinks no. This deck hasn't topped, like, at all ever. Although Japanese lists keep rating this, like, in, like, tier 4 or something, I think they're maybe overselling it a little bit. Why does the list have 3 Vic Viper beginning? What blasphemy is this? I mean, it is what it is. For me, Right, is it a little bit audacious to put Miss Mutton into tier 3? Is it audacious? I think the main issue is that the skill does nothing, actually. I mean, yeah, I think that's what everyone's been saying for the whole time, right? I get that the cards are really good, but that they could make it do something. I mean, yeah, it's like we were saying. I think I would just like it to be discard level 4, 800 defense, light machines from your hand up to 2, draw that many cards. Like, it's not a lot, but I think that little bit of extra consistency would help the deck so much. Psychic slander. I mean, they're just not doing anything. I like the V-Friend deck, but it's bad. The deck is if you could activate the skill on turn 1, maybe the deck becomes okay. But the deck can still just get OTK'd very, very easily by Music Princess. Extremely easily. They just change a guy to defense. They've all got 0 defense. Boost up to 6,000 Pierce attack. And then you're just dead. And it just feels like ass. Has anyone tried Miss Mutton in Aqua Cornful Charity Skill? The issue with that is you need to have an Aqua in the graveyard. You need to have an Aqua on the field. You're drawing less cards than you would if you had the Elemental Circulation package. You're not going to fit both an Elemental Circulation package and an Aqua package. And the Elemental Circulation package is just better. So, like, it's very awkward to try that. I'm not sure how good it's going to be overall. And in a heavy shiny shady meta, Miss Mutton slaps, but everyone starts running riding over shady. This deck sucks. Kind of. Right? Kind of. The issue is that once again, people have started playing shady again. Right? Shady was not being played as much because of Jointech. But Aqua, shady is like okay into Aqua. It's really good against Music Princess. It's really good against Neos. It's really good against Seven's Road. It's really good against Elemental Heroes. It's really good against Red Boot. Like that's the issue. It's like, are people going to be teching just for the perceived like best one deck? Or are they going to be playing for like the field? Because what it's really going to come down to is how much of the top 100 percentage is split, right? If the top 100 is 50% Jointech, maybe people aren't playing Shiny Shady. If the top split, though, is like 25% Jointech, maybe people playing Shiny Shady. You know what I'm saying? So, like, it's not as easy to predict what deck building trends are going to be. Especially because, typically, we have seen, over the past GRFs and WCQs, the meta does evolve. The best deck ends up being something completely random that people have just discovered on, like, day 2 or day 3 of Stage 2. Maybe an alternative when Cert gets hit, but I don't know if it would work. Maybe when Berry Fresh gets added, we can use Harvest and Shy in Meeg. Maybe potentially. Unironically, I kind of want to see Pierce get hit. Because every time Pierce is put in a deck, it's always just doing some degen OTK shit, right? And I'm just like, can we just stop with like the weird OTKs? And again, it's always weird OTKs because of the Pierce spell card. Without the Pierce spell card, Miss Mutton becomes so much weaker. The new high-tech OTK becomes a lot weaker. I don't know, man. I don't like getting OTK'd. Especially when it's like... Miss Mutton especially makes use of all of this stuff and gets to play around the fact that Shady doesn't work on it. And it's very annoying. I saw a version of Miss Mutton with the straight Pierce skill. I mean, it can work, right? It can work for sure. High-tech cooking me on the daily right now. Yeah, high-tech is like such a strong deck. Straight Pierce? Sure. I mean, at least then you have to force them to play a substantial Wind Warrior package, right? I think tier 3 feels okay for this. Alright, then we have this. For me, this is going to go here. Because, right, check it out. It is the best of both worlds. It is the Yami Ruler deck. And it's the Gradius deck. Both are in High Rogue, so what better place to put it than smack dab in the middle of both of them. So again, this is just the Voltalon list. It's just Yami Ruler, and then you just play your Gradius deck, right? It's Gradius, Yami Ruler's also there. Welcome to the party, Yami Ruler. Please stop my opponent from playing the game. I want to summon spaceships. And I think this is fine. This is fine. Then we get the boy, the Beasteam. So obviously for this meta, it hasn't been doing a ton, but in the previous meta, it was doing okay, right? Where did we have it? Was it the, oh, it's Overlord. There we go. Yeah, it did, like, it got a top 4 finish. It had one top 4 finish. And again, the logic is that it's a floodgate that, again, stops a lot of the best decks. Now, you could make the argument, why would you play Overlord when you could just be playing Yami Ruler? And the answer to that is, Overlord doesn't lose to as much as Yami Ruler does. Yami Ruler, I think, is a better overall well-rounded package. But Overlord, specifically Beasteam, needs more specific outs to get rid of it, right? So, for example, Gradius, if you're playing against the Gradius deck, they're not going to give a shit that you've activated the Floodgate on them. They're just going to summon out like a 3200 guy, attack over your Yami Ruler, he's gone, right? But they're going to really struggle, I think, to get over a Beasteam, right? So that's the reason why Beasteam would still be around. I still think this is going to go into High Rogue. Because I think, again, there is still some potential with this deck. I think people are sleeping on it a little bit because it's not very interesting. It's not very fun. You just kind of sit there and Floodgate. The game plan is very linear. It's not exactly the most interesting deck. I think High Rogue is fine for this. This is basically where we're just putting all the Floodgates. Hello, Neo X Noah, by the way. Straight Pierce, sure. Grammy Rulius. The box also kind of sucks. What do you mean by that? The box has actually been really good. I mean, case in point, we're about to slam Aqua straight into tier 1. New box deck, straight into tier 1. I mean, we've already been talking about this a lot. But we'll go ahead and take a look again. Aqua, currently the second best performing deck. Aqua, where is it? Top most played deck, 33.5% of games played in the PGRF were Aqua. I think the deck it's won 2 tournaments. It's been winning point battles left and right. The deck has just been really good. I want to try the maximum deck, but I only opened the box once. Can someone give me 9k gems? That's not going to happen, my friend, I'm afraid. You got to get grinding. You got to get grinding. The maximum? What do you mean, the maximum? Oh, the box that the maximum's from? Is that what we're saying? In which case, I agree. Hello, Rarity Fangirl. Welcome, welcome. We'll do an exclamation mark. Rarity in the chat, as always. Got a 13 win streak with Aqua? Exactly. Aqua best deck. Aqua best deck. Now, Aqua might not actually be the best deck, so we're going to have a little TM at the end of there. But Aqua is definitely one of the strongest decks right now. For sure. Probably human. I don't even know. Aqua is... Oh, there we go. You were replying to human without tagging, I see. Is Aqua the most free-to-play deck now? Yeah. So the issue with Aqua is you want 3 copies of this. And you want 3 copies of Cornfall. So you're going to have to go through the box 3 times either way, right? So I don't know if I would say it's like free-to-play friendly. I don't know if it's going to be more free-to-play friendly than like 7s. Boil the Aqua sister. Why would you do that to poor little D and Keto? What the heck, man? Yeah, this deck is just... It's insane, right? You're able to gain so many life points. You're able to go plus so many cards. The skill is a +1. You can use Nuvia the Mischievous to get +1s as up to 3 times in a turn, depending on how many times you can discard it. You can use specifically D and Keto the Cure Master to get another +1. The only downside this deck really has is you can't beat set 3. But that is where people have come up with the strategy of just stalling. Because effectively, you're not really stalling, right? You'll still clear your opponent's board. That's fine. But you're telling your opponent, if you stall against me, I'm going to win, right? So you're telling your opponent, it's up to you if you want to stall, but I'm going to try and win the stall game, right? I'm going to beat you because you're stalling. So, like, it's not even... You don't actually stall your opponent out. You let them decide if they want to try and stall you out. So it's like reverse stalling. Which sounds absurd, but that's kind of how it works. Because you'll still just put everything in attack and keep slapping them. 3 times mini is sort of free to play. I mean, it's no Jointech. I mean, yeah, Jointech is... Especially because Curse is now in the mini box, Jointech is a lot more... It's a lot friendlier to new players now, but... It's no Red Boot either. It isn't Red Boot. 7s don't have more the structure free. I mean... 7s, like, everyone already has. You got 1 copy for free, and then you could buy 1 with gems, right? So, Aqua the best investment currently, but interesting to see how long it stays at the top. Well, I think, again, arguably for some people, it's not even at the top right now. It's just in tier 1, but if we're calling that the top, then that's fine. So next up is Neos. For me, Neos is a tier 2 deck. I think this goes straight into tier 2. I think, take away the top 3, Neos suddenly starts to shine. Neos is strong. It's able to quite easily make 3 bodies, 2 25s and a 32 usually, or it could be 2 25s and a 16. You're able to boost your attack up with Heat Neos. You're able to get rid of your opponent's bodies using Pulse Neos. If you can go double Pulse, that's fantastic. You just get rid of 2 of your opponent's guys. This deck, though, does have a similar issue in that it's not the best at dealing with set 3. There are some tools we can use to get around that, but sometimes it can be a little bit awkward. Jointech is the most expensive deck in this game. I mean, I think there is some merit to that statement, yes. 5 to 6 different boxes. I guess you could make an... I don't know. It's a weird one. Because, like, it used to be Royal Rebels. But I think they've reprinted Rebels so much that I don't think it is actually that expensive anymore. What was the other deck? Psychic? Has Psychic been... Again, Psychic isn't going to be super competitive right now. But if you were to try and build Psychic, would that be quite expensive to get these days? I don't actually know. 5 to 6 different boxes 3 times is certainly not very free-to-play friendly. Yeah. Tier 2? What's up with the question mark? What's wrong with the question mark, Luis Fernando? Does Neos have a tourney win yet? No. The only decks to top wins is E-Hero, Jointech, Music Princess, Aqua, and that's it. It's just those 4. So basically all of our tier 1 decks and E-Hero are the only ones, but it's had 2 second place finishes. The major issue we've seen with Neos is it did well and then people stopped playing it. So I think that although it hasn't been seen in the last couple of tournaments, that's because no one's brought it, not because it's like got knocked out really quickly. Neos shines short, but it doesn't shine flare. Yes. Psychic is quite expensive still, yeah? High Tech is expensive. How expensive is High Tech these days? Did the cards even ever get reprints? I don't know if they ever got reprints. Psy is still sort of expensive. Yeah, it's knocking on the door though, so deserved tier 2, agree. Yeah, I think tier 2 makes sense to this. It's probably not going to be like the highest tier 2, but I think it's there. I think it's fine. Then we get Elemental Heroes. So where do we want to put this? Probably right next to this. These 2 are probably somewhat interchangeable. I do think that... Oh, sorry, I'm going to start sitting down. My legs are getting tired. I do think Elemental Hero regular... Like, it did win a tournament, right? And it did beat Neos in the finals of that tournament. I think the deck is still reasonably strong. Miracle Fusion is still really good. Going into, like, a double Shining play is still really, really powerful. You also still, again, have access to easy back row popping, thanks to Burst Wingman. So, like, the deck is still reasonably good. It's just, is it as good as the other decks here? That's what it really comes down to. High Tech is 4 boxes. Blue Fang doesn't have a reprint. Well, there we go then. When I checked how I could build Jointech, it was in 5 different boxes and are 3 ofs. I mean, yeah, it's always rough. It's always rough. High is 4 or 5 box. High Tech is mega expensive now if you want to go 3 times concurrent, 3 times Pierce. Well, I suppose, yeah, Pierce is a weird one. I don't even know if Pierce has ever had a reprint. I assume it must have done at some point. But I can't think of it, put it that way. Hello, Almighty Foxy. Welcome on in. High Tech is the Bluetooth box, Red Boot deck build, the Striping Wyvern box, and the new Fusion box. Wild. It's actually wild. Although I don't know how many copies of concurrent you actually need in that deck. Like, I assume you'll want at least 1. I don't know if you need, like, all of them. Like, I don't think you need 3. Probably 2 you get away with. Pierce is a nightmare to get for newer players. Exactly, that's why we should ban it, because then we don't have to worry about that. Is this a Rush tier list? Yes, this is a Rush tier list. We're currently, because we have the Goha Rush Fest just around the corner. We're talking about the Rush cards, talking about where things are going to end up. 2 at most for concurrent, to be honest. 1 is fine. You can shuffle it back anyway. Well, that's a good point as well. As long as we have access to Red Boot, we can just shuffle it back in. Why would Konami realistically reprint Pierce? Well, if people want to play it, right? I mean, I don't necessarily think they will. But, you know, it would be nice to have a reprint. It's a shame because High Tech is really fun deck. Rush sucks. I mean, you're entitled to your opinion, Foxy. You're entitled to your opinion. Give us the upgraded Pierce. Ghost and Pierce haven't gotten reprinted. Well, we have got a Ghost reprint now, right? And let's talk about Ghost Cyclone. Oh yeah, Ghost Cyclone. Have we not had a reprint of Ghost Cyclone at all? I guess we haven't. Now, children, stop arguing in the chat. We'll have none of that. And here's an ad break. Time to hydrate. Seven seconds. It's a shame because High Tech is a really fun deck. I don't like High Tech, if we're being honest. And the reason why is the deck's entire game plan is to kill your opponent in one fell swoop. And I think OTK decks are not super engaging. Typically, OTK decks work on like a glass cannon kind of philosophy, where either you just kill them in one go, or you lose. And I'm not a big fan of that, personally. Like, I like my game to have a bit more interaction, whereas with High Tech, you summon out your boss, and then you go, does my opponent have a trap card? Yes. Okay, I've lost. Or you go, no. Okay, I win. So it comes down to like a 50-50. It's not that's an oversimplification, right? But that's how it feels. So I don't know. I've never been a huge High Tech fan. I think the card design on some of them is awesome. I think some of the cards look really cool. I think some of what the cards do is really cool. But fundamentally, the deck is just burning, milling, and OTKing. And those are 3 things I'm not a huge fan of personally. Bro goes to Rush, he speaks bad about Rush, shocked it's negative. The thing is, I will never begrudge someone for speaking ill of Rush. If they don't like Rush, that's fine. So if you don't like Speed, that's fine. If you don't like TCG, that's fine. You can even voice your opinions, that's fine. Just don't make it personal. Don't start attacking people, right? You can attack the game, you can attack the format. I think that is all completely fine. The second we start attacking each other, that's when I got to put my foot down, right? Right, let's try and cover this quick, right? I was told Rush players are toxic AF. I was right. I never liked Rush, and I just say what I think about Rush. Look at the results. Everyone is being crybaby. You sort of go play Fortnite instead, bro. I'm sorry, but we're gonna have to ban you for that. Like, I understand that you're just defending yourself, but you did kind of instigate. And at the end of the day, we're trying to create an environment where, you know, everyone just wants to have fun. We just want to talk about the game. We want to enjoy it. Obviously, if you're not here for that, we're just going to, like, you're not going to be invited. I'm sorry. You're just going to have to leave. Like, we're not... if you want to have a discussion, that's fine, right? If you're just going to start attacking people, that's not fine, right? Again, I don't begrudge people who come in and they'll say, like, I don't like this format. And then I'm like, yeah, that's completely fine. I think it is a valid response for people to not like Rush. I think that is completely fine. But you can't come in, say you hate it, then people are like getting defensive because you've basically called the thing they like crap. And then get like shocked Pikachu face. Oh my god. They didn't just roll over? Oh no. So I don't know, man. It's fun to OTK from 6k. Nah. I don't think High Tech is a healthy deck. Same with Shining Turbo. The difference is that the Elemental Hero deck can win without just doing Shining Turbo. But it always can fall back on double Shining Flare Wingman game, right? That's the difference. In the same way that Light Galaxy can win without doing their big Eternal Galactica Oblivion play. But if they can, they're going to do the big Eternal Galactica Oblivion play, right? There's a lot more setup, there's a lot more interaction, you're doing a lot more things. Whereas a deck like High Tech, as it is currently, just feels like you are going to try and do the one thing, and if that one thing doesn't work, GG, right? I like High Tech. I wish we had Lightwave Dragon and its fusion. See, I like Lightwave Dragon. I do think that would be really cool to have that sort of gameplay. The issue that I'll always have with the deck is it's fundamentally very difficult to make the deck not toxic when you only have a 6k life point format, 30 card deck, and skills to make it more consistent, right? Because basically what you're saying is I'm almost always going to just do my OTK combo. And because you're on 6k, it's almost always going to win. So it's just not great, right? That's how I look at it. We can win with Burn, Mill, or OTK on High Tech. Exactly. And none of those are, like, for me at least, are particularly fun ways to win. Yeah, High Tech is 6k. Life point format feels a little air. I would like for, instead of a deck build, they release a special box just for old generic staples, like Pierce, Cyclone, Essel. I think rather than have a specific box with all of them, I would rather have them get reprinted just in new product as they come out. I don't want, like, a specific box that I'm not going to get anything out of, personally. Mill OTK is good versus Artcore especially, but it definitely can be. 3 win conditions on one deck is good, as in fun. I think if a deck can win via, like, a side burn strategy, right? So you're not going to burn them from 6k to 0, but, like, you get them down to, like, 2k, and then you can finish them off. I don't think that's the end of the world. I think that's fine. But when, like, again, this deck doesn't tend to win via burn. It can, right? No, I'm just a little toxic. Speed players project so hard. Again, it's not about speed, right? It's not about speed players. It's not about speed players. It's, again, the one thing I don't want is for things to turn into speed against rush. Because lots of the speed players are lovely. They're fantastic people. A lot of speed players play rush. So, like, I never want it to be us versus them. We all play the same game. Both formats are cool. If you don't like one format, that's completely fine. You don't have to like both formats. But again, we want to try to be civil. I like speed. I also like rush. I'm not going to, like, you know, shit on one because of liking the other, right? Yeah, it's best just ignore anyone who says that. Not worth the argument. Yeah, the way I look at it is, if they come in and voice their opinions about rush, that's fine. If they start making fun of the community, that's when I don't like it. And again, the same thing goes for you guys. Don't, like, start ragging on the speed community. Don't do that. Otherwise, I have to ban you guys as well. I don't want to do that. Rush players are probably the nicest Yu-Gi-Oh players. I don't know if that's strictly speaking true. I think there are bad apples in every community. So when you have a bigger community, there will be more bad apples. That is the only thing I will say to that, right? I mean, poke the lion and be surprised the lion bites back. Joining a Rush stream to shit on Rush Duels is crazy. Hello, Seb Marine, by the way. Welcome on in. Yeah, again, it's one of those... Again, I personally do not mind if someone doesn't like this format. I don't mind if they voice their opinion about the format. That's fine. I get that a lot on my YouTube videos. And a lot of the time, like, I'll tell people, like, you know, I respect your opinion. At the same time, we do Rush here. Like, the Duel Links Reddit spies are crazy, not good. I mean, Konami once give me enough materials to make 2 high-tech fusions in one turn. I'm down for it. I mean, again, I'm not telling you not to play the deck. I'm just saying I don't like it. I think the deck's still strong. Double Red Boot Enhanced FTK, maybe. Yes, skills are ridiculous in a format designed specifically to not have free searches. Yes. I mean, it's fine if we give those searches to, like, bad decks. The issue is, I think if we didn't give, for example, High Tech, if they didn't have Supersonic Fusion Enhancement, the deck would be mid. But with this skill, the deck is now either OTKing or doing nothing. So, like, it's a really awkward situation where I think it's just a victim of the format. It's kind of how it feels. Speed is a sucks. Again, you can dislike speed. That's fine. Just don't shit on the speed community. Is all I'm saying, right? You can voice that you don't like speed. That's fine. You can also voice that you don't like rush. That's fine. Just don't attack people. That's all I'm trying to get at. Next up, Light Galaxy. Well, where is this going? This is an interesting one. Are we putting Light Galaxy in tier 3? Or are we putting it in Rogue? I don't think it's high Rogue. This is genuinely a difficult one. Where the heck are you going? Light Galaxy Rogue? I think you might be right, but it feels wrong. There's no way Light Galaxy is Rogue, surely. We all suck, true. Dude, I miss Secret Order Turbo Light Galaxy. I mean, it kind of still is that. Right? You can create a Secret Order as well. You can play the Secret Fourth Order. Light Galaxy is the deck that exists. Crazy how far Light Gala has fallen. I mean, this has been in tier 3, I think, for the last 2 tier lists we've done. I think it can now go down to Rogue. Oh, that feels so bad. Light Galaxy has a lot of the same problems as Red Boot. Except I think Red Boot just does it better now, which is really weird to say. Because it's a deck, again, if it gets shadied, you're now just, like, not doing anything, and it just kind of sucks. I beat all the ones I faced with Meek-chan except for one, and I lost Clog rank up 6 times this season. Well, that's not ideal. Santa Miller's tier 0? No. Santa Miller's not going to be probably even on this tier list. Surely if you're debating between Rogue and tier 3, then maybe like Galaxy's High Rogue. Potentially. The issue is, High Rogue typically is something that is... like, it has specific matchups it's really good into. Is usually what High Rogue is. And Rogue to an extent. Maybe we do just slam it into High Rogue. Maybe we put it in High Rogue. High Rogue's starting to get real chonky, though. It's starting to get real chonky. I mean, again, we can move all of these afterwards. Also, hello, Axel. Welcome, welcome. Light Galaxy lost a lot of power. High Rogue would imply there's actually a reason to play it this format. That is another very good point. See, that's what I was trying to get at with, like, it has a specific deck it's good into. I do agree with Voltalon. And again, Voltalon is someone whose opinion I do take very, very highly. Voltalon obviously went to Worlds. He's one of the best Rush players probably in the world. So definitely trust Voltalon's opinion. How the best box in the game has fallen so hard. Power creep is scary. It is. I cannot think of a single proper reason to play it over other decks right now. Yeah. Whereas again, I can see reasons to play these decks. Right? These are specifically counters to certain things. The only one that's a bit iffy is Gradius. I think Gradius is in here because it feels like it's not necessarily a tier 3 deck. Tomato fancies Volt. I mean, do you not remember Volt during the World Championship? Man was looking fly. Come on, man. Tell me you don't fancy him. It's a cool deck. Light Galaxy is fun to play. That's a reason. I mean, it's absolutely fun to play, but so Cyber Dragon. Cyber Dragon's a really fun deck to play. It's still down there. Like Dark Galaxy. If anything, all 3 of these decks are insanely fun to play. I love playing all 3 of these decks, but they are all down in Rogue. Feels bad. Join Tech, it has high defense. Is being out of range of Stegocelos, though, is that a good enough reason? Because there are other decks that do that as well, right? Like, Baseball is a high defense deck. I think generic skill Gradius could be really good. Yes. I think if they had something a little bit better than what they have, right? Just British plus option could be nuts. Yeah, I agree. I do agree. They are sucks Dark Galaxy got hit before I got to play it. Well, so Dark Galaxy, right? I was the biggest believer of get rid of Darkhold Device because this deck felt like a coin flip. You queue into it, and it doesn't matter what you do, right? It did not matter what cards you put on the board. If they had the Darkhold Device combo, you just died. If they didn't have the Darkhold Device combo, they just died. It goes back to like the OTK deck that's an entirely a glass cannon, right? It was a really weird World Championship qualifier with Dark Galaxy running around with Darkhold Device. If I want to do this, I'd rather play Neos. Neos is generally better than Light Galaxy in most... Yeah, I agree with that as well. Another high defense deck. It's what, 2,000 defense on average on all the Neos cards? I think it's just 2,000 defense on all of them. And they did get rid of Darkhold Device, and look at what happened. Thanks, Tomato. It needed to go! The deck was toxic! It was just... Lamau, do combo, win game, or, oh god, I didn't open combo, GG's. Whereas every other deck got to actually play the game. Light Galaxy Mirrors was so much fun. They were actually so much fun. I loved Light Galaxy Mirrors. I loved playing them. Watching them for the 100th time, not great. Actually playing them was really fun. In the same way that playing Gaia Mirrors was really fun. I really, really loved Gaia Mirrors. Gaia Mirrors was so much fun. Again, watching Gaia Mirrors, not the best. And again, when you're queuing up for your 12th Gaia Mirror of the day, also not the best, but it was still really fun. Device will be back post-GRF. There is potential for Darkhold Device to come back. There definitely is potential. I don't know if it's a little bit early currently, but it definitely could come back at some point. Alright, I think I might put this here. So this Gaia is representing Gaia Heaven. Because I think this is the best Gaia at the moment. It's definitely the only one that's like been played in tournaments. Gaia was fun in like, it was funny to see a pie chart with just one deck and 100 decks played. Yes. Yeah. Yeah. Plus it was everyone ladder. That was the primary issue. That in some ways, giving away decks for free is like, it's so weird because it's like, it's good because then people can have access to it. Free-to-play players can easily get access to it. Speed players can easily try out the format. There's all these good reasons for it. And then you also get, okay, but now everyone on ladder is going to play the best free-to-play deck they possibly can. And so it just becomes that over and over and over and over and over again. Especially the closer to when it comes out. Like when Seven's Road came out, that was all you played on the ladder for so long. Don't worry, Darkhold Legend in the Anniversary Trust. I mean, we just talked about this last stream, about how Darkhold, for me, was... I don't want to say it was like... It wasn't, like, awful, but it was very frustrating to lose because your opponent top decked Darkhold. Like, it just didn't feel good, like, at all. Next Void Veil support device will go back to 2. It could. Absolutely could. Gaia still has results. That's right, it does! Let's go take a look, shall we? So we go back to Top Deck Rush. If we go to the last 4 weeks. Where is it? Oh no, it's not going to be on here because it was... it didn't make top 4, so it's not going to be on here. That's so mildly irritating. Like, it's very mildly irritating. Okay, we can sort this out. I can get a list. Here we go. So this is the Gaia list that I cooked up. I managed to get top 8 twice. Now, the biggest issue we had with this was we kept playing against high-tech dragons in top 8. Now, does anyone in chat see the problem with this deck going against high-tech dragons? Does anyone spot the issue? Because there's quite a glaring one. That if we did have the solution... I think we would have just beaten High-Tech Dragon very easily. But we didn't have it. Or as Human said, we would get Darkhold Legend. I hope not. I really hope not. It was free, but if you wanted best version, you had to get Metarian. So at least Konami sold that box. I mean, yeah. GR Cup 1, but with a good deck instead of Beatdown. Has Rush ever gotten an anniversary box? I don't think so. We might have gotten one at one point. No, only the free legend. The one that had Sevens, Gitana, and Dragius. I think that was a deck build, but I'm not sure. I don't keep track of the product that much. I don't have Shady. Exactly. Nice trap hole. Exactly. If we had Shiny Shady, and if we had Compulsory Evacuation Device, and we just don't brick, right? We just have to see some of those cards. We would absolutely mop the floor with high tech. This deck, however, was not built for that, because in order for it to work, we probably would have had to take out either the Curse or Avian. Avian I don't think could come out. Avian was too useful. It was too useful. Curse probably could have come out, so I would swap these three for like 3 Shady, maybe. Maybe we swap out the Legend Trap. But what does this deck do, right? Just for anyone that's curious. If we go into our Conqueror of Champions, it can attack directly as a 2600 guy. If we go into our, what's it called? Spectre of Heaven's Eternity, it can attack directly for 18. Is it 18? No. No, it's 17, I believe. I believe it's 17. So, if we make 2 of these Spectres, how much damage is that, right? 17 plus 17, that's 34. If we add 26 direct attack, suddenly, that's 6,000. As well as we're playing a certain skill, Destiny Draw Music Princess, that lets us search out Straight Pierce, which means we can go Gaia into Conqueror, use Straight Pierce on Conqueror, put it up to 46, and then 46 plus the 17 is going to be 63. So it's a direct attack OTK deck. Except it doesn't have to OTK, it just can OTK, right? You can kill your opponent with direct attacks over 2 turns, that's also fine. But the whole point is it can OTK if it wants to. Why didn't you use Widespread as a legend? Well, why would you use Widespread? Out of curiosity, United. I'm trying to work out if you're memeing or not. Why would you specifically play Widespread in this format? When there's, I mean, primarily, again, this was like the second tournament after the new box came out, and we were still thinking Jointech was going to be everywhere. So we played the anti-Jointech trap card. I see it, different pilot. I mean, could be. I looked it up, yeah, it was a selection box, there we go. But yeah, this deck is... I'm going to put it at the top of Rogue? I don't know. It's kind of gimmicky. I also think it will die to traps, so you have to make sure you Avian them. If you don't Avian the traps, the deck, again, doesn't really do a lot. It's also going to be really awkward into a deck like Aqua that can just heal. So, I think Rogue is probably fine. Was just considering the high-tech problem. But if it was high-tech, I mean, I guess. The alternative is Negate Attack. Negate Attack does basically the same thing, except it's also good into Aqua. But again, this was before Aqua was doing well, so... I think this is fine for our Heaven Gaia. Let me get Jointech. Now, Jointech. If we take a look at this, it is the best performing deck in tournaments. It has won 2 tournaments of this format. If we go back to the last format, Jointech. We go and take a look at this pie chart. Oh, that's a lot of Jointech. If we go and take a look at the PGRF, Jointech's only here. It's only this little slither. So, like, Jointech was seeing play, but again, the Japanese player base, I think, don't rate Jointech quite as highly. That being said, I personally feel like Jointech is second best deck consistently. Now, again, after GRF, these two might swap places. But for me, my personal view is I think Music Princess has the highest potential to pop off and does really well even if it doesn't get a pop-off turn. I think Jointech is still absolutely fantastic. These two decks are very close. In fact, I think all 3 of these decks are very close. I think for me, I don't have it as top of tier 1. I have it as second best deck. It's fair to say battle traps feel better to use now than before. Yes. It comes down to, you don't want to play battle traps if your opponent's going to pop your traps before they get to battle, right? So if your opponent's going to just slam down full orchestra, they'll pop it. Or if they just go... God, what's the one that turns off your back row? Is it Ensemble Fighter? Like, whatever the one that turns off your back row, there's that one as well. If your opponent's going to summon out a Jointech Rex and pop your back row, using Magi Trap Snipe, I think it's called. Again, don't want a combat trap. If your opponent's going to summon out a Burst Wingman and pop your back row, again, don't want the other one. You don't want the combat traps. Music Princess has too many tools for different situations, and it also gets high attacks very easily. Orchestra, Ensemble Fighter. Yeah, there we go. Ensemble Fighter. I feel like Curse is going to get hit post GRF. I mean, it could. Absolutely could. Because it's funny how we saw Curse seeing a lot of play in Music Princess, and then it almost kind of stopped seeing play in Music Princess. Because we needed the room to fit the rest of the cool new shit they got, right? Like Straight Pierce, like the new level 6, I forget what it's called. But theoretically, this deck is still fantastic for Curse, because you summon out a guy, your opponent is forced to use a trap as soon as it's summoned, or just lose all their back row, and then you get to change about position and draw 2 cards for free. But there's just no room. There's just no room. Three decks at the top, we have our new version of Sevens Light Gala, Dark Gala. I mean, yeah, I would. I'm curious to see how it's going to play out, though. Because if we go back to that format, right, which was Eternal Galaxy Road. So this was that format, right? So there is a little bit of a difference here, right? Light Galaxy is it's taken up quite a lot of this here pie chart, right? It's taken up quite a lot. Spellcasters also, you know, it's 24%. That's a bit less than Jointech is right now. And then Dark Galaxy at 18%, right? I think it's better because Light Galaxy is so much better than Sevens and Dark Galaxy. Yes. I mean, that's what this is like inferring, right? Because even if we go to the next format after that, it's still right here. And then again, this side of the pie chart looks alright. It's just this side looks a bit yikes. But for now, at the very least, we are not in that state right now. So whereas back then, a 3-deck format meant you're basically only going to play against one of those 3 decks. A 3-deck format here, I think you're still going to see these other decks around. Right? They're still going to be there. Next up, I think we're going to put Chrysaor in the bottom of Tier 3. I don't know. Are we going to put this at the bottom of Tier 3? Chrysaor is a weird one, because you have the skill that means you're always going to have the equip spell. So it's relatively consistent, but you have no way to guarantee you're going to get the Chrysaor. So you are kind of still down to luck. Now, Miss Mutton is in a similar boat, where its skill doesn't help it outside of getting a bit more damage, realistically. But you can play the hero package in this deck. And the Cirque package is just so good, right? Cirque package is insane for just digging through your deck and finding all the pieces you need for your combo. We are not getting Beast Gear World. Stop coping, chat. We're never getting Beast Gear World. Okay, it's not happening. For somebody that's already on 140 duels of Rush only this season, yeah, the format right now is very diverse Evans. Again, the thing you have to remember, Neo, is ladder. I don't know if there's like a polite way to say this, but ladder is very casual. Ladder doesn't really matter when we're talking about competitiveness, because ladder is just like you can use anything and get to COV, right? You just can. Now, when you get to gold 5 and you've got to win 5 in a row, yeah, some decks are going to be able to get that 5 in a row a lot easier than others. But, like, fundamentally, cogging in Rush isn't difficult, right? The 2 best decks, that format is Light Galaxy, and Light Galaxy using Darkhold Device. Exactly, Chaos Galaxy. Just came out of nowhere and started absolutely wrecking face. Was Beast Gear World meta breaking, or is it a meme? It's a meme, because So Beast Gears in general is a deck that a lot of people really like. And one of the big reasons that people really liked that deck was because the cards, like, aesthetically looked very cool. It's like Beast Warriors, so like anthropomorphic, like wolves and stuff, riding motorbikes, very like Mad Max style. The problem is, without the field spell, they were all just kind of weak, because the gimmick was that you could get like 1700 attack guys out quite easily. With the field spell, the boss became 25, so it could actually compete with a lot of the other stuff. You could use the effects to change your opponent's monsters to defense and then either attack them multiple times or just like pop defense position monsters. And the Beast Gear world has the special effect to reduce the attack of dragons and spellcasters. So my theory was they didn't want people playing it as sort of a, like, Floodgate isn't the right term, but using it as a card that would just weaken Dragius. So they didn't want it there, because people would play it even if they weren't using, like, Machines, Beast Warriors, and Fiends, right? I don't know. It's a weird one, but it's still strange that we still don't have it. Again, realistically, the deck wouldn't have been good. It just wouldn't. But the deck never had a chance to try and be good, because it never got a skill, and it never got its field spell. By that definition, wouldn't Mutton and Chrysaor always be tier 3 all formats? I mean, as long as the deck can just pull a win out of its arse, the deck should be like tier 3 or Rogue, right? Ladder isn't the same as tourneys, yeah. Well, and like GRFs and point battles to an extent as well. Like anything that's a bit more competitive. Chaos Galaxy best deck, real. Konami once recommended it by name and never released it. It's a shame. It is a shame. We have Beast Gear World. It's in Arcwa. What are you talking about? It is not the same, and you know it. Alright, so is there a reason to play Chrysaor? I think Miss Mutton is just better than this. I think this is going to come down here. I think Chrysaor is going to sit in Rogue. I think I don't hate that. The deck is still okay. You can still play it. You could still do well with it. I think it could even get like a top 8. Let's try and get... Okay, here we go. Here's some Pokemon. Let's get some Pokemon music in here. That's what we're talking about. Back then, 400 was a lot. Imagine Perma 600. Well, it was 300 originally. It was 300. You gained 300, and then... Was it... What was it? It was Dragons, Spellcasters. Was there a third type? It might have been Fairy? Got minus 300? I can't really remember. It's been a long time since I've used it. Oh my god, the black and white Elite Four theme based. But yeah, we got kind of stuck in Bayonetta. So we wanted to just get out of Bayonetta. And we've managed to find Pokemon. And just like that, the last equip dies. That's fine. We'll get Celebros eventually. That'll be the new equip deck. Next up is Metarian. Where's Metarian going? How is Metarian looking? Metarian is here. It's here. It's got 2 points. So it has had 1 top 4 finish. Is that literally it? Nothing else. It's currently here. Statistically, it is outperforming Gradius. Because it has had a top 4 finish. Warrior Fiend and Machine plus Spellcaster's Drag. Yeah, it was Fairy, yeah. Tier 3, Metarian definitely is not Tier 2. Metarian is whatever. Well, the question then becomes, do we think Metarian is better or worse than Music Princess, than Miss Mutton? That is the next question. Metarian Tier 0 Trust? Oh, I don't know about that. I've seen a lot more Metarian in Rush Cup than I thought it would. Hello, Mirko. Welcome, welcome. Let's give you a shout out. Micro Sentinel. Make sure we spell it correctly. But welcome on in. Yeah, it's one of those decks that it's quite easy to get now. Because to build this deck, all you really need is to go into a bunch of deck builds. And if you go into a bunch of deck builds that have cards you want anyway, because there's like, what was it? One of them I think had Shady in it. So getting a hold of the Metarian deck is quite easy. Nah, I would say better. Do you think it's in tier 2? I don't know about tier 2. Like, for me personally, I think this is a solid tier 3. I don't think it's like a really strong tier 3. I think it's a solid tier 3. I don't think it's like up here with these decks. Matarion is scary versus warrior decks, of course, but not amazing against the rest. Even then, like, we saw in like 3 different tournaments, we saw the warrior deck of the Yami Ruler deck that does not floodgate this deck beat this deck in all 3 tournaments. So, like, even against the warrior decks, sometimes this deck just kind of doesn't quite fall into place as it needs to. Better than Meek-chan? Ooh, better than Meek-chan. Now, that is something we could entertain. I can't take Matarion seriously due to a certain awful matchup. There you go. Would it by any chance have something to do with this little girl up here? By any chance does she have anything to do with it? I think, though, we do put it above Meek. I think that's fair. Everyone can partially play Matarion. Everyone has 3 Shady. Yeah, basically, right? Matarion lose even for warrior decks. I mean, basically, right? Right, let's have a swig. So with that, baseball. All right. What are we doing with baseball? What are we doing with baseball? I don't know if Giorfio's still around, but I know where he wants it. He wants it here. I think this is definitely a tier 2. The question becomes where in tier 2. Are we putting this to like top of tier 2? Because I do think baseball is a respectably strong deck. That face when 26 is smaller than 27. I think it's fine to have it in tier 3 in a vacuum, but yeah. I mean, yeah, again, we're talking about this as a vacuum, right? Tier 2 baseball, top of tier 2. I think it's definitely, for me, it's at least here. It's one of these 2 spots. It's top of tier 2 or second in tier 2. That's the way I kind of look at it. Why would it have a bad matchup versus D and Keto? Just use the Aqua Fusion. Hehehehe. Exactly, exactly. We've gone back to this song. We've already had this song once. Let's get out of here. All right, Mario Odyssey. Here we go. Right, I'm okay with this. I think I'm okay with this. I do still think the Neos deck is a little bit slept on. But I also think baseball is a little bit slept on. So I mean, Neos is here, baseball's up here, but again, we've barely had anyone playing baseball. I like that High Roller can get his second fusion when Rainapolis is up too. Second draw. Yeah, that is also quite nice, yeah, as long as your opponent is playing some sort of field spell, which for the most part is just going to be Aqua, but it does mean it does have an okay little buff into that. The question is, how many people are actually playing High Roller? 7s after baseball? Potentially. Definitely, there is a chance for that. We might end up putting 7s behind Neos. I haven't decided yet, but that's just a little spoiler for the future. Why did everyone that I faced in the tournament these last 7 days defeats me early and then goes to top 4 or finals? Happened like 4 times. What future rigging is this? So I've had a similar issue where when I was playing the Parco list of Aqua, I got like 0-4'd. Like I got absolutely destroyed. As soon as I changed the list, suddenly I was like, I managed to top. But I keep getting to top 8 and I just can't push past it. Like every tournament I've entered, I've either been knocked out in the first round playing Parco's list, or I have made it to top 8 and I get knocked out in top 8. Now again, making top 8 is still fine, right? You don't have to like top 4 every single event. You don't have to win every single event, obviously. But like, I just feel like this meta specifically, I keep getting like stuck. Lol. Hello, Dwan. Welcome on in. Right, next up. It's up here. It's definitely going to be in tier 2, right? It's got to be tier 2. It's got to be tier 2. The old high-tech dragons. Where is it at the moment on here? So at the moment it's here. So it's like, it's in the Neo 7's E-Hero kind of red boot area. I think this makes sense. I don't know if I should have it here or here. I think these 2 decks are fighting for the bottom of tier 2. High is tier 2, question mark? I think it's... Right, the thing you have to remember is, if your opponent doesn't have the correct outs to deal with the high-tech dragon, they will just lose. But if they have the out, they will just absolutely destroy it. So what it comes down to is how many people are playing the cards that stop it. The more people that play Shady, the more people that play Negate Attack, the more people that play Compulse, the worse this deck is going to do. But how many people are playing those cards right now? We're in a bit of a weird place where a lot of people are playing Trap Hole. A lot of people are playing Execute Riding. And these cards are still useful, but you can still kill through them. Baseball relies a lot on sacking. I lose to it if they high roll, I win if they don't. Yes, that's kind of how I... Alright, so I will say, I think baseball is quite strong, right? I think that you are still able to kill through almost anything. Now, if your opponent gains a load of life, because they're playing, for example, Aqua, I think this can be a bit more of a trickier matchup. That being said, a lot of your monsters, or all of your monsters, have 2000 defense, which means you can't get popped very easily by Stegoselos. So I think it does have some okay matchups. But, like, again, it's going to be very dependent on what the board state is in. But I do think that baseball is decently strong. The question is, how strong, right? Like, do we think baseball is going to beat all the other tier 2 decks? Because if it is, I think it earns its spot as top of tier 2. Top tier 3. I prefer tier 3, but it's cool. I mean, if there's enough people saying they want it in tier 3, I think that's fine. Because again, it is a bit of a coin toss. It is a bit of a, do they have it or do they not, right? Also, Aqua trend means more battle traps, which baseball really don't like. Yes. I mean, we say that, right? Because I got beat by Giorfio, right? I destroyed him game 1. Game 2, I set 3 monsters and passed, and then he just OTK'd me on literally turn 2. And then turn 3, I lost. Now, the game that I won was because I had a trap card that just stopped him. If I had found Negate Attack in any of those 3 games, I probably did just win whatever game I found Negate Attack in. So there is something to be said for that as well. I think I'm okay to bump this down a little bit. Aqua, yeah, some more battle traps. I'll tell you what, I will, in valuing Volt's opinion, I will bump this down 1. I'm going to put Neos to the top of tier 2 for now. I think that's fine. I think this is fine. High Tech is so sick. I don't know about that. I think High Tech's kind of lame, but... And then there's 5 God Dragon that can become an issue for decks sometimes. I think 5 God Dragon, ironically, it's like, it's kind of a Towers. Like, it's not really, but it kind of a Towers, right? It's very difficult for some decks to deal with. So, like, I don't know. It just kind of adds on to the degen stuff that this deck does. It's like, what does your deck do? I can burn my opponent. I can mill my opponent. I can OTK my opponent. And I can summon a Towers. And it's like, we're just listing off all the degen stuff. And we're just putting it all in one deck. And like, that's, I can't like this deck. I'm sorry, I just can't. Baseball would be tier 1/2 if they could tribute summon their bosses for 1 less tribute. I mean, unironically, that would be really, really helpful for them. Tomato, where are Dragon Tribe Fusion? I mean, we're not going to get Dragon Tribe Fusion until we get probably the Lug, I would imagine. We have 5 God, but we don't have Dragon Tribe. That is correct. That is a correct statement you have just said. At least most of the top decks have an out to 5 God Dragon. Yeah, I mean... kind of? I'm trying to think, how does Music Princess get rid of a 5 God Dragon? How does Join Tech get rid of a High Tech Dragon? How does Aqua get rid of a High Tech Dragon? I guess Aqua you'd have to use TSA. You just have to use TSA. Double Reduce? Yeah, but then you would try and kill them through. You still can't actually get rid of it. You just try and kill it. Can you flip it with Curse? Can you flip it with Curse? Yeah? There's no reason you can't. So you'd have to... But then what do you do if your opponent just keeps 2 cards in hand? Now, again, after summoning a 5-headed dragon, that might be quite difficult. But, you know. Music Princess just turbodishes them. Yeah, but again, at that point, you're going to try and kill them over it. You're not actually going to get rid of it, right? So then it comes down to, if you only have 1 activation, chances are you're not going to have enough damage to kill. And if you have 2 activations, well, they're going to be dead anyway because they have a 1000 guy and you're just going to run into it twice. Lyric's attack twice, beat into it. Aqua TSA or Legend Monster. Yeah, the Legend Monster is another good one, actually. Aqua Soldier. But again, we're saying this like it's really, really easy to just summon out action twice. Like, sometimes it is. Sometimes it can be a bit awkward. Jointek is Common Curse. Aqua is Abyss Soldier. So what we're saying is, almost every single card that we're saying here is very situational. Except maybe Aqua. Aqua should have quite an easy time with it. You just need to find your one of, or find one of your TSAs, which should have 2 of. And you'll have a light monster, so you could just kill it. Right? Again, assuming you have... Actually, it's water, isn't it? You don't even have light. Yeah, so again, you can't... Ugh. No, all of these decks suck at dealing with this. They have ways, but they all suck. Yeah, I forgot they have Abyss Soldier now. Yeah, Abyss Soldier makes dealing with any of these threats so much easier. Okay. Jointek! Not Jointek, this is Jointek. This is Royal Rebels. I don't know, here? I'm not even sure if we should have Royal Rebel on this list, if we're being completely honest. But it did do okay in the last format, right? It did get to a 2nd place finish somehow. So, I think we have to give it the respect of that. I think if it was good in the previous format, or if it did something in the previous format, it's allowed to be on the list. I think that's how we look at it. Making God takes a lot of resources, though, so deck playing against it will have more resources available to deal with it. Kind of, right? But just because they have access to more resources doesn't necessarily mean they have the resources necessary to deal with the threat. It just means they have a higher likelihood to have what they need, right? Like, how does Jointek deal with high attack Worm Excavator? Just don't think about it. Exactly. I mean, it's never going to matter, so just don't worry about it. Just don't worry about it, bro. As a Rebeler, I can't beat Aqua. Yeah, I mean, Rebel's just in a weird spot. It's just in a weird spot. I think Rogue is fine. I think we'll just put it in there, right? I don't think we need to discuss it too much further. Alright, now for like, this is probably like the last deck that we're going to have on here. So it's Spellcaster time. So Spellcaster is in tier 2. We know it's in tier 2. Where is it in tier 2? It's an annoying deck to play against. It's very consistent. It can always get a chunk of damage through set 3. Like, almost every single time it goes 2nd, it's going to just get a ridiculous, like, 3,000, 4,000 damage in through to on turn 2. The question is, where do we plonk it? I mean, let's take a look at the data. So right now it's here. So statistically, it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It should be right after Seven's Road. It's outperforming Neos, outperforming, like, all these other decks. Realistically, it's going here or it's going here. It's going in one of these 2 spots. Tier 2 ahead of Baseball, behind Neos. Do you think it should go ahead of Baseball? I would put them higher than Hero, but below Neos. I mean, it's definitely going higher than Hero and below Neos. It's definitely going in tier 2 as well. Behind Heroes. Do you think it should go behind Heroes? That's an interesting one. I mean, there is some logic to that, for sure. It's definitely a hero here. I don't think it's going behind Heroes. I think probably like this. Probably. Shining Flare OTK is very good still. It is. It is still very good. But Spellcasters also can do really, really well. Like, the deck is still quite strong. I think a lot of people are kind of underestimating how good Spellcaster still is. Like, it hasn't won a tournament since the new format came out, but it got a second place finish. It has got some tops. It's been doing okay. It has a better record than, like, Baseball, right? Oh, well, Baseball did get a second. Well, I suppose, yeah. About the same. I think I'm okay with this. I think I like this. I think this is fine. So with that said, assuming do we want to move anything? Is anything, like, obviously in the wrong place? Is anything, like, massively in the wrong spot? I think tier 1 is pretty locked in. Again, I think there will be some people, like, I think if you ask the Japanese community, they would probably do this, right? I think that seems to make a lot of sense. There are probably a lot of people over here in the West that would probably do this. But I like this. I think this makes sense to me. I think Matarian can be behind Mutton. I think that's fine. I don't have anything wrong with that. I don't think there's anything particularly incorrect about that statement. I think it's fine. High Rogue is all probably fine. Rogue is basically just decks that you play for fun at this point, I think. They're close either way. Yeah, that's kind of how I look at it. I think this is fine then. I think this is solid. I think this is where we want it to be. This is the completed Rush tier list. So now, like we said at the start, I do want to quickly go through some of these decks and rearrange them based on how easy they are to play. Or like, we'll rank them by complexity, right? Because I do want to, like, again, when we're talking about GRF, we're talking about playing so many games back to back to back. We're talking about people that haven't necessarily played these decks a whole bunch. I do want to go through and just get everyone's opinions on which decks they think are very easy and which decks they think are very, very difficult. Casters is in 3 for a reason I'm legally not allowed to share. You already know why? Yes! That being said, I think based on the information that is publicly available, we put it here. I think that's fine. Japanese players kind of underestimate Joint Tech. Yeah, they basically no one plays it over there. Like, whenever they have a tournament, they have maybe one Joint Tech player sign up. And even in the point battles, you don't see it a ton. Alright, but in terms of complexity, how do we want to do this? We'll probably get rid of... Right, we'll get rid of the Rogue decks. Because I don't think they're going to be too important here. We'll keep the high rogues. So we're going to rearrange these decks from, like, most complex to least complex, right? How do we want to name these? The thing is, I don't want to call it, like, hard, because a lot of these decks aren't actually hard. They just, like, are a bit more complex. All right, I want to do this. I want to do this kind of list. So, let's start with Music Princess. Music Princess, for me, this is one of the more complicated decks in the game right now. It's not like, again, the issue that people are going to have with this sort of thing is they're going to sit there and go like, oh, all the Rush decks are easy. All of them are so easy. But again, we're comparing them against each other, right? So compared to some of the other decks, this deck big brain, right? Put all tier 1s, Baseball, Mutton, and Maximum into last spot. See, for me, I kind of think this goes down here. I don't know. Joint Tech is so easy. Like, it's so easy to play. Like, comparatively, It is so easy. Like, there is very little decision-making needed when piloting Joint Tech. Spellcaster goes into Brain Dead instantly. I don't agree with that. And the reason why... Right, so let's frame this in a certain way, right? When you play on ladder, and you play against randos on the ladder, sometimes you'll get beaten because they got lucky, right? Even though, like, some of their plays have been suboptimal, for example. The point is, in order for them to make suboptimal plays, there has to be optimal plays, right? And in that sense, I see a lot of people mess up the Spellcaster deck. Whereas they don't mess up some of the other decks because, again, it's really hard to mess up Joint Tech, right? Easy is fine for Joint Tech. I don't know, Joint Tech for me, at least for me, right? It might be because I played so much Joint Tech, but Joint Tech to me is so simple that, like, I don't know if there is an easier deck to play than Joint Tech. I've seen people fuck it up. I think it's at least an easy. Brain Dead should be reserved for Miss Mutton, which legitimately... I think that's fair. Again, I will say, you can also mess Miss Mutton up, right? If you activate Circulation and discard the wrong cards, like, you will still mess it up, right? So there is at least decision points. Maltrue, that's more about the players than the deck. Yes, but the point is, some decks are a lot harder to mess up with, right? And in my opinion, those decks become the easier and Brain Dead decks. You can advise whether I should or should not invest into Avians for Elemental Circulation for outside of heroes at this point. I mean, I don't know if Volt is going to have the clairvoyance to be able to predict that something's going to get hit after the ban list or not. There are some decisions to make when playing Joint Tech, especially in sequencing, so I would say easy. I don't know. I just... Like, to me, the hardest thing for Joint... It's not even hard, right? The most important sequencing for Joint Tech is summon out your millers first to make sure you fill up the graveyard with as many different options for the skill. Then, the important decision is working out what card to take back from the skill. Like, a lot of the time, I'll end up taking back, like, Gale, because Gale has the most value to be gained than even some of the bosses. So, like, I guess just by saying that aloud, though, that does mean those are decision points the deck has to make. Alright, Aqua. Aqua, for me, is probably in fine. I would say Aqua is harder than Joint Tech, but I would not say it's, like, crazy complex. Metarian can be complex. Yeah. I'll give you that. Metarian has some lines that can be... Because, like, sometimes it's like, is it better to do, like, full Metarian Ashura Star, go down that line, or is it better to not? When I activate the effect of leading actor, is it better to use it as a actor or not? Like, there's a lot of decisions to make. And you have to think ahead as well, because sometimes you'll be able to take these decisions further, but you'll have to think ahead of, like, what resources you're going to have left on the field. I think the hardest choice is Curse at the start of the turn or after they get trapped. Yes. I mean, it depends, right? It depends on the exact situation that you're in. Because sometimes you'll have a hand, you could just start playing stuff, and it doesn't matter. And then sometimes you're like, well, I mean, I could just go Joint Tech, Rex, and then I'm just going to force the back row or not, right? And then if you do that, then you're quite happy to do it. But then again, then it'll come down to, do you have two bosses in hand? So if you do slap down a Rex, do you have another boss in hand ready to actually activate the skill? So, like, there's a lot of minor things with Curse. Alright, next up, I guess we'll talk about Neos. Where does Neos fall? I'm trying to think back to my time playing Neos. So when I was playing Neos, I never felt like there was particularly difficult decisions to make. A lot of the time it was things like, I need to get access to, Hero Descent? So it was like, alright, the way I'm going to do this is I'm going to, like, summon fake Neos, activate the effect to mill, to try and get Descent into the graveyard so that I can activate the skill, get back Descent, then we can activate Descent, get out material to Contact Fusion. Like, I think there is, like, some complexity there, but I don't think it's like super complex. Neos is probably easy. Aquas are weird because they pretty much have the same crazy skill as Seven's Road, but I don't see them as brain dead as it. I wouldn't describe them as being like Seven's Road personally. I mean, because they kind of are. The major difference, I guess, is that Seven's Road can get rid of monsters from the field, which gives them a lot more flexibility, especially when using something like Strange Witch. And they have 9 targets they can comfortably play to trigger the skill, and they've got cards they want in the graveyard. I would say this is more likely, like the skill is a lot closer to a mix between the Jointex skill and the Baseball skill. That's how I look at it at the very least. Yeah, I think Neos is probably fine. I think this goes down here. I think that's fine. I haven't really played versus Neos, so I have no idea. Neos' biggest choice is discard the Spatians for skill or not. I mean, that's still a decision to make, right? Because the other thing is, if you discard for the skill, that can then turn off circulation in certain ways. Right, another ad break. So we'll just wait for the ads to go away. As we do. And the ads are gone. Welcome back, everyone. So, I think Neos is like slightly more complex than people give it credit for, but it's not like, it's not a hard deck. It's fine. It's not like super easy, but it's not like, I think fine is fine. Decisions on how to use Descent is something. Yeah, I think there is some stuff going on with Neos. I think just going in fine is okay. I don't think it needs to go anywhere else. Next up is Casters. So Casters is an awkward one because Spellcasters or Seven's Road is a deck that's been around for so long. People have played this deck for literal months. Like, this deck came out, what, like 5-6 months ago? And is still around. So it's easy in the sense that everyone now has experience with it. But I think it is difficult in the sense that people can mess it up. Like, the amount of times I play against people on ladder and they absolutely mess it up is insane. So for me, I'm going to put this in easy. I don't think this is brain dead. I know everyone hates it, right? I know you don't like the deck. That is fine. I don't think the deck should be in brain dead, personally. Casters can be fine or complex. So again, it comes down to, are we judging this entirely off of the fact that everyone's had the deck for so long and everyone now knows the ins and outs of it, everyone now knows how to play it, everyone now knows how to play against it? Or are we judging it at face value, how the deck was when it first came out, right? That's the caveat. I think we're going to kind of go a little bit in between, and I think it's going to sit in easy. I think that's fine. Caster game plan is kind of streamlined. There's 2 lines that you ever go for. Yeah, again, once you know the combo, right? It's, you know, if you can, get Witch to graveyard, summon out Strange Witch, bring back Seven's Witch, fuse together, or, you know, activate Seven's Witch, summon out Seven's Red Magician, and then whatever you got left in your hand, just play. Or, you can't get Witch in the graveyard, so you just do everything we just said without special summoning a Witch. And that's it, right? The deck, you always do the same thing 100% of the time. There isn't really much else going on. That being said, people can mess it up. So I think easy is a nice compromise. All right, baseball. Baseball. What are we doing with baseball? Baseball, I would argue, is even more streamlined than Sevens. Fundamentally, all you want to do is your combo. And you can't play around stuff most of the time. You just kind of do the combo and then hope your opponent just doesn't have the out. Are we including playing through disruptions as a measure of complexity? I'm gonna say yes. But it's like can your deck play through interruptions? And how difficult is it for your deck to play through interruptions, right? I think that is a fair metric. If it's just like, my deck can play through interruption, therefore it harder, like, I don't think that's fair. Because if actually playing through the interruption is difficult, then yeah. Then I think it adds to the difficulty, right? I think this is fine. I think easy is okay. So this might be a bit of a contentious one. Elemental Heroes. Where the heck do we put Elemental Heroes in terms of complexity? Because you do kind of have to think about the plays, right? It's like, do you go for the Flame Wingman early? Or do you go for the Burst Wingman that's going to make your current board stronger? It's going to deal with threats that are currently on the board right now. But then if you do that, you're now pushing back the Shining Flare Wingman play. It's like when you prioritizing Voltic over other. And this deck obviously was more complicated before we got the extra deck slot. But now we have the extra deck slot, it doesn't matter as much. Because before it'd be like, if you're only playing one Voltic, okay, when you use your Voltic was very important. But now that doesn't matter as much. I think this is probably going to go fine. Like, it's not insanely difficult. It's also not, like, insanely easy. I think it's fine. So next up is going to be another OTK deck. Hey, John Paul, thank you for the follow. Welcome, welcome on in. Save. I don't know what that means, but welcome, welcome. I swear I have turned that sound effect down 4 times, and it just refuses. It refuses to be turned down. And I despise it so much. So I do apologize for that. I will try yet again to turn that sound effect down. We'll see if we can get it 5th time's the try. But so for me, I think... Is the deck complicated to play? Let's go through this. Let's walk through this, right? Let's go through the deck. The skill kind of sorts everything out for you. You don't get a choice on when to use the skill. It's just have a boss in hand. Striping does so much for the deck. There's not really a lot of decision making to make. You just kind of go. You just kind of put everything on the board and you go. And it works or it doesn't. I think High Tech is a complex deck, but maybe not so much the OTK variant. The issue is the OTK variant is the only variant that's doing anything. BD is true. What do we mean BD? What is BD? If High Tech is brain dead, I think Spellcaster should be there too. I mean, by that extent, you could also say that Baseball should be down there. The skill has a caveat that it's only one of each of the 3 additional cards. I mean, that's fair. That is fair. But I still don't think that is an extra layer of complexity that should bump it up. I'll tell you what, I'll definitely do this. I'll move this around. I can go like that. The thing is, this is always going to be very subjective. It's always going to be very subjective. It's like, I mean, maybe we do this. Because all 3 of these decks, they play in a very similar way, right? All of them are very linear. They always try and do the same thing. The only, like, sort of caveat is if this deck now has 2 different lines it can make, right? So now, if we go down here, we can just show you the lines. If you have your Blue Fang, you can go into Concurrent, right? So this is now a different line. So you have this plus Pierce. Or, if you have Red Boot access, instead you go Enhanced, and you try and burn your opponent to death, and you probably still use Pierce, right? So, like, it now does have 2 different routes it can go down. But there isn't a decision to be made unless you have both in hand. So, like, a lot of the time you go, I have Red Boot, okay, I must do this line. Oh, I have Blue Fang, okay, I must do this line, right? So I don't know if that... I think it's definitely the more complex out of these 3 decks. I think I agree with that. I think this is fine. The other decks can at least say they're activating trap cards, which is what every deck can do, but okay. The Brain Dead decks usually can't even say that. Yeah. That's like fundamentally the issues. All 3 of these decks are like, they're all OTK decks. They're all like, turn Brain off, do combo, hope your opponent doesn't have the right trap to stop me. Because this deck, they need... What? They need specifically... I guess it has to be negate attack or slime. I guess you could say riding, right? For this deck, for the most part, you need negate attack or you need slime. For this deck, you need compulse or shady and maybe riding to an extent. Hello, Cyclone Valley. Welcome on in. There's also some decisions with which cards to discard. I mean, yeah, but, like, that's not, like, massive, right? Like, realistically, there's not a lot to it. You just kind of... Again, you gotta remember, we are just talking about the, like, herder, play boss, give it piercing, win game, right? That's the version of this deck we're talking about. We're not talking about, like, any other kind of, like, mid-range version of this deck. Concurrent is Unga Bunga, but Red Boot Graveyard Retrieval is Big Brain because you have to decide your deck and your opponent's deck. I would say that you are true. You are correct. If it wasn't for the fact that Red Boot still just makes Enhanced Boot Dragon, burns your opponent for a turn, and then OTKs them in 1 attack anyway. So most of the time, it doesn't matter. In terms of before Red Boot Enhanced came out, I would agree with you, right? Back when we were playing the other skill, which is... Let me just go... Let's bring up the deck real quick. That'll make things a little bit easier. When we were playing the other deck, the other skill. What was the other skill called? God, what was it even called? RB Drive. Back when we were playing RB Drive, and the deck wasn't a fusion deck, I would agree. I think this deck was a lot more interesting, a lot more engaging. You had to think about what cards you want to put back. You had like this endless resource loop. The deck was very engaging to play. I think as soon as we got the fusions, this deck is just Unga Bunga. You just summon this and give it Pierce, double attack. Or you summon this, burn your opponent a ton, and then attack into them for game. Like, there's not really much else. The other interesting thing we have is that some people are playing Poly, so we can go into this guy, which is funny, right? What is the Yaptus today? Today has been tier lists. We've been making a tier list for the meta, and now we're making a tier list for, like, deck complexity. Damn, I missed Giorfio's response for baseball. Unfortunately, Giorfio hasn't been around. He was here at the very start, but I think we took a little bit too long to get to the baseball for him. RB Drive, the good old days. Yeah, RB Drive, I stand by. That deck was really fun. And that deck kind of required a bit of a brain to pilot. I don't think this one was very good. Hello, Giorfio. What was baseball ranked? So we ended up baseball tier 2. We had baseball tier 2. Now we're doing a follow-up, which is working out which decks are more complex than others. Which I know what you're going to say, Giorfio. I know what you're going to say. All rush decks are easy. I know you're going to say it. But we haven't finished this yet, so don't get too disparaged. We're still moving around some of these decks. So the next one is going to be this one. The Yami Ruler, like, warrior pile. I never played Music Princess, so I can't judge. It's, no, again, the hardest rush deck is still not insanely difficult, right? I don't want to sell it as, like, you need a PhD in dueling to be able to play Music Princess. But I do think it is harder than the rest of these. I assume you would at least maybe agree Metarian is at least a little bit more I disagree on Baseball that low and Metarian that high. I think Metarian has a lot of complexity to it. I don't like Metarian as a deck, so this isn't like my bias. Like, I don't like this deck. I think it is a bit complex. Metarian is so stupid. I agree with that as well, but I still think that you still have decisions to make when playing Metarian. Chrysler is brain dead. Funny enough, I called my baseball deck Glue as a joke towards Utopia before really knowing about it. Yeah, it's just these three decks, for the most part, there isn't usually a lot of stuff that you can do to, like, play around stuff. Like, there is bits and bobs. Like, but the main stuff is typically, like, weaknesses, right? Like, for example, Grand Slam can be shadied, so you have to kind of play around that. But it's, like, the only thing that's ever going to get shadied, so you can't really play around it. Is baseball really more brain dead than high tech? I mean, originally we did have it higher, but people complained. I tell you what, I will move it down, but I don't want Bala Sparkle to get upset with me, okay? He's got to get upset with everyone in chat. Alright, this deck is... I mean, this deck's easy. Let's not mince words. This deck is very easy. I mean, if we go back and take a look at the list... The deck is very simple. You activate circulation, you dig into all your pieces. The combo is quite basic. You summon out 2 monsters, tribute them, summon out Yami Ruler, summon out a Yami Luna. Ideally, activate Miracle Fusion and go into Burst Wingman. You can do the Burst Wingman play first to try and force up traps so it won't hit your Yami Ruler because Yami Ruler gets flipped face down. Obviously, the whole deck doesn't work. But there's not a lot to this deck. It is very one-dimensional. I don't think it's, like, brain dead, but it is very easy. So I think for me, this is an easy. Isn't Gradius pretty hard to play? We haven't done these three yet. That's I'll put them over here, just so it makes it less confusing. We haven't placed these ones yet. I don't even know what to do with this, so I'm going to leave this one. I'm only upset that my internet connection at the moment. Okay. I think Yami Gradius is difficult to play, but only because it make a single mistake you lose. That is a good point. We can have this in complex. I think that's fine. It's a weird one because, like, the issue this deck is going to run into is, like, board space and, like, resource management, which I suppose is complexity, right? But I haven't played it myself, so I don't have a strong opinion on it, right? Then we have Gradius. Where does Gradius go? Where does Gradius go? Where does pure Gradius go? The issue with this deck is because you don't have a skill. You don't have as... It's like when you take out the skill, you take out a decision to make. Because you no longer need to think about when to activate a skill. But the way the rest of the deck performs is very interactive, right? You do have, I need to summon this in this order, summon that, use their effects, then I need to summon, for example, was it beginning? Send one of the spent serpents to the graveyard, for example, bring back a card from the bin. You need to make sure you mill in the correct orders so that you have the options and the multiples in the graveyard ahead of time. Like, there is a lot of stuff going on in this deck. In general, it doesn't look easy. I mean, again, it's going to be somewhat subjective, right? Because some people are going to find stuff easier than others, right? You need to manage the resources for grind game and mill early to get the options engraved. Yes. And not clog yourself. Yes. The thing is, not clogging yourself isn't too bad. It depends what spell trap lineup you're running, right? Because a lot of the monsters you have can just send other cards to the graveyard. So, for example, you just summon a guy, summon out another guy, get rid of the first guy, and bam, you've made room. At the same time, the spell cards do the same thing, but a lot of people aren't playing the spells. I think we could have this in complex. I think this is fine. I think complex is fine. Heading out, bye, and have a good day, Tomato and chat. Thanks for stopping by, United. Always do appreciate. Wow. Change names. Change names of what? It's probably... yep, the limit 2 can send stuff to grave. Yes. Well, and it's not even just the limit 2. You can also do it with the bomber that pops back row. This is probably going here. This deck... So, this deck has a fundamental flaw. You want to choose my sleeves? Okay, you can choose my sleeves, Valley. Have you got any idea what you want? Magnum is not even a real deck. What do you mean it's not even a real deck? Look. Wait a minute. We'll find it. It's here somewhere. Am I blind? I might be blind. There it is. Look. Real deck. Real deck confirmed. Rushdal Dynasty. It's real. It's a very like high rogue deck. It's kind of weird because I have it pegged as an easy deck in OCG, but by virtue of not having a real skill, it's inherently more difficult than a lot of the other decks in Duel List. Yes, I agree. But it's weird, right? Because usually using a skill means you have to use the skill at the right time. But not having that means you don't have an extra... It's like you've taken away a decision, right? It's a weird one. I don't even know what it does. So the Overlord Maximum... let's go and take a look. I can actually go to me. That's an even better one. There you go. So this is the deck. The Maximum itself... cannot be destroyed by traps. Makes it so that if you have 10 or more monsters in the graveyard, it inflicts piercing damage, and it gains attack equal to the number of monsters in the opponent's field times 500. And then, during the turn your opponent special summoned a level 5 or higher monster face up, while this card is face up on the field, your opponent can activate the effects of face up level 10 or lower monsters. So if they are special summoning, basically they can't use their effects, which means this deck just kind of automatically beats some decks and doesn't others, right? It's basically a floodgate. It's a big floodgate. How the fuck did that happen? That is beyond quantum levels of meme. Well, you know how it happened. It's because the GOAT was piloting it. That's why. We just casually walked in. We almost made it to top 2 as well, but we didn't quite. We lost the coin flip, and it ended up costing us. Yeah, I mean, just being floodgates. The thing is, this deck is like, it's very simple. The only thing you have to worry about is not decking out. You need to get a certain number of monsters into the graveyard to get your piercing so you can actually end the game, right? But if you can get out the Maximum and then sit behind some traps, you, for the most part, are like nigh untouchable. But the deck is like, you just turbo draw through the deck, get to this, and then make sure you don't deck out. That is the entire deck. The spell after the hero one, this is a Maximum specific spell card, Heavenly Gift. Send any number of monsters from your hand to the graveyard. If the total levels of those monsters are 10 or higher, you can draw 2 cards. So what you're supposed to do with this is discard a level 10 Maximum piece, draw 2. So it's just filtering. But what you can do with this card in this deck is discard over 10, right? To just send your entire hand to the graveyard, which then gets you more than 10 in the graveyard, which turns on the piercing of the Maximum. Discard monsters that are level 10 and will draw 2. Yeah, exactly. Cringe deck, but I play Dragonic Pressure, so I'm not scared. Exactly. If you have Dragonic Pressure as an out to this, you just beat it. If you have Hammer Shot, this deck falls over. Like, it is very much like an anti-meta deck, right? But yeah, this can go in easy. I think that's fine. And then this one, Brain Dead. Chrysaor goes into Brain Dead. I don't think we need the rest of these, because these are all rogue. In fact, even Chrysaor was rogue, I think. But we can put this in Brain Dead because it's Brain Dead. I think that's fine. Even some of these... I mean, we could put the rogue decks in. We got a little bit of time before we finish up anyway. This is fine. It's a little bit... The only tricky part with this is you have to be very specific with resource management. So this is specifically the Heaven Gaia build, where you have to make sure that you get the correct cards in the graveyard at the right time, whilst also managing everything else at the same time, because you have to get the 5 cards engraved. You have to make sure that you can set up for the contact fusion. There's a lot going on with this deck, but it's not complex, like, at all. Yeah, I don't know if there's anything more brain dead than Tirfing. Exactly. This is just like, all 4 of these decks, by the way, they're all OTK decks. They're all just like, hurt the slam combo on board, try and end the game immediately. They're just different flavors of doing the same thing. And this is like a piercing one. This uses the pierce spell card. This uses the pierce spell card. This wipes the board before they do it, right? But fundamentally, they're all doing the same shit. Light Galaxy. Personally, I don't think this is like an easy deck. I think this is one of these two. I really like the Light Galaxy deck, so I'm going to try not be biased. I think to be played well, this deck is a little bit complex. To be played to a fine standard, the deck is fine, right? Because there is some interesting stuff you can do with this. You have to manage resources a little bit, but not too much. Like, a lot of the time, it will come down to stuff like, do you send extra cards to the graveyard with things like Leica, right? That sort of play. Where there is little micro decisions you can make that can make the difference. But is it necessary? Probably not. This is actually quite a difficult one. I don't know where Royal Rebels goes. It feels more difficult than Metarian. I don't think I agree with that statement. I don't know. Metarian, I don't know. Like, Metarian is a tricky one, right? Because now they have their full Metarians, right? They have full Metarian Ashura Star, full Metarian Vritra Star. You have decisions that you have to make when you summon out Leading Actor. There are lots of different directions you can take it as well. A lot of the time, you'll have all the pieces to make, like, a bunch of different boards. And then you need to work out which end board is the best one to go into. Sometimes you'll have stuff that combos together, like Vritra plus Ashura. Sometimes you'll be like, well, I want to get Ashura, but then I want to fuse Ashura off into a full Metarian. And then I'd have to use, like, then it's like, do I use the full Metarian to bring back the Vritra to get another pop? Or do I use the effect to gain my opponent's attack to get more damage in? Like, there's a lot of decision points. Metarian is mostly sequencing. Yeah, but I think sequencing is complexity in this game a lot of the time, right? Draw the fusions, fusion materials, and make your plays. I mean, you could say that about every deck, though, right? Again, we're trying to get into the nitty-gritty of it. And I do think that Metarian is more difficult than a lot of these other decks. Depends on the variant of Royal Rebels. I mean, we're going to go with the current, right? So the current Royal Rebel is going to be... There should be one on here, right? We'll go for the human build. This is the variant we're talking about. Oh, no, yeah, I agree on its placement, I think, right now. Yeah, that's my opinion. Obviously, Jorfio doesn't agree. And, you know, Jorfio went to Worlds twice, so... You know, maybe his opinion is worth more than mine. What the fuck is Dynasty? I mean, sometimes stuff just creeps through. Current variant is somewhat fine. Rebels and Magnum top here. Listen, any deck can top if you just have the heart of the cards, right? If you believe in your cards, they will return, you know, your belief. They will fill your heart with joy and give you the cards that you need when you need them. This deck, to me, is interesting. So this version of the deck is clearly spamming back row hate. And the logic, I assume, is, well, if I get hit with one of these two cards, I'll lose the game. So I'm going to make sure I don't get hit with one of those two cards. And then I'm going to do my thing. And my thing can do really good damage, right? Hard Rock, I think, gets slept on a lot. This card can just OTK, right? It's not easy, but you can just OTK if everything's set up for it. In terms of complexity tier list, I think people with less experience have better say. That's fair as well. Because again, when you've played a deck 100 times, you already know all the lines, right? You don't need to think about it. Big monster Unga Bunga can burn. Yeah, so it's a bit awkward, is like the best way to describe it. But basically, the key strategy is you want to summon out Perion, boost your opponent's level and attack. Then you can use Hard Rock to choose a face at level 7 or higher. So if they don't have level 7s or higher, we make them level 7 or higher, whilst also boosting their attack up. Inflict damage to your opponent equal to the difference in attack between the chosen monsters and this card. Then this card gains attack equal to the chosen monster's attack. So we boost their attack up, we then yoink their attack, and then ideally, we attack over something weaker. So we burn them, then we take as much of their attack as we can, and then we slam into something weaker, and we try and just kill them in one turn. Yeah, it's Paris the Star Knight. Rush become a lot more complicated when your goal is to make every little decision perfectly, which becomes especially noticeable when your deck is weak. Exactly. Current Fiend is basically Old Fiend, but the win con is more convoluted. Yes, because it is so awkward. But we kind of love it because of that, right? I think convoluted game plans can be really fun. It's probably fine or complex. Yeah, Alright, I'm gonna reevaluate. I think this goes in complex because I think it is more difficult than these. And I think this is as well. I think I like both of these in complex. Because, like, comparing Light Galaxy to these decks, I'm like... Neos is a little bit complicated. This deck is like, it's not... I wouldn't describe this as easy or complex. It's fine. Only if you add from grave, summon from grave. Also, I never saw the R-Spell. The R-Spell is another maximum card. So it's if the total levels of face-up monsters on your field is 10 or higher, so you're supposed to have a maximum. Destroy one spell trap on the opponent's field. Then if you have one face-up monster on your field, you can make one face-up monster on your opponent's field lose 1,000 attack. So you're never going to get this effect off the second part unless you have a Perion, right? If you go solo Perion, which is awkward because when you use the skill, you can summon 2. So you want to summon 2, because then you get extra resources to be used for your combo. So, but if you did want to, you could go just Perion, and then you could get the minus 1,000 on the opponent's board. After you've given something plus 500 as well, which is also a little bit awkward. Yeah, only lock original levels, so you can make a low-level monster massive and still attack with it. Yeah, it's only... Where is it? This turn, you cannot attack directly using a monster that has an original level of 7 or higher. But what you're supposed to do is not... So you don't use Doom Metal a lot of the time as part of the OTK push. If you go Doom Metal, that's when you want to do like double Cul-de-sac and then have double Cul-de-sac attack directly. Ideally triple Cul-de-sac, because that's fantastic. But usually the line is that we don't pop the whole board, we go for the Hard Rock and we try and OTK with that. Alright, Dark Galaxy. I'm okay to have Dark Galaxy. I don't know. Dark Galaxy is a weird one. There's a lot going on in Dark Galaxy, but I don't think the sequencing matters very much with Dark Galaxy. I really like it. It's really fun. But, like, you always do the same thing, right? You either do your Dark Hole Device line, which just wipes the board, summon, smack your opponent to death, or you do the... You know, the Protostar into Theogonia into Chrysaor play, right? So you're always doing, like, one of those things. Again, I really like this deck, so I'm trying not to be biased with it. I think it goes in fine. I think Sidra is probably easy as well. Sydra's not a really complicated deck. There's not really a lot to it. I think that's fine. I don't think we need... Like, because none of the rest of this was even on the tier list. So I think this is probably where we're going to leave it. Right, is anything massively out of place? Is anything here, like, wildly not where it should be? That is the next question. Because if it is, now is the time, because we can move it. But if not, then... then this is it. I know Jorfia really doesn't like that Matarian's here. I personally, I still think this deck is harder than all of the rest of these. Again, it's not even hard. Yeah, it feels weird calling it like hard. But it is easy to mess up with this deck if you haven't played it 100 times. Noodle? I don't think Noodle's going there. I've never played VFriend. VFriend, again, is a lot about sequencing. But the deck... Again, in terms of, like, complexity, I'd probably have it in complex if we were going to put it on here. But the deck is so awkward and kind of bad because you can't use the skill turn 1. I didn't play Join Tech enough to tell, but doesn't feel as easy as 7s. Oh, I don't know about that. Join Tech is very, very, very easy. You basically do the same thing with Join Tech every single game. There's not really many decisions to be made. But, you know, again, this is going to be somewhat subjective. There's always going to be... Personal opinion is always going to have a big effect on these sort of things. I think that's it then. I think that's it. I think we've come to the end. Oh, we've done it. We've done it. Quantum won't improve? What do you mean? It's just the fact that you can add anything from the graveyard. Yes. And that is what we said. So originally we were going to have it in Brain Dead, and we bumped it up to easy because we were like, that is a very important decision point that you can choose anything. And sometimes people will take something that's wrong. No, I think it's very relevant. I do think it is very relevant. Music Princess is not big brain. I think, though, a human, I think you're saying that because you don't like the deck. I think there might be a little bit of biasy going in there, you know? Now, I could be wrong, but that's just how I feel. But with that is going to be the end. So we didn't actually end up playing today, which is fine, because that means we can play High Tech next on Thursday. We'll play High Tech Thursday, and that's when we're going to finally get to dual level max, because by that point it'll be stage 2 the day after. So we're probably going to try and hit stage 2 with High Tech. That is going to be the plan, which is going to be fun. I am looking forward to playing that deck. And we've just put it in Brain Dead, so hopefully we don't make mistakes, because then we'll have to eat our words. So that is going to be the plan of that. There isn't really anyone to raid right now. There is a couple of people, but they're playing, like, very not Yu-Gi-Oh games. So I don't really want to raid into there. So we're probably just going to call it. I think we're probably... We could raid Zeta. You guys want to raid Zeta? Zeta's playing Rush as well. So we could raid Zeta. If anyone doesn't know, Zeta, I believe, went to Worlds last year? Not this year, last year. So there's that. But we will go ahead and raid into him. But thank you guys so much for watching. And I'll see you next time. Goodbye!